Welcome to the special meeting of the Oldham County Planning and Zoning meeting on October 9th for the comprehensive plan. If everyone who is able will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I am Vice Chair Katie Nasser, filling in for Mr. King, who is out today. First order of business, if everyone will take out your wonderful electronics and put them on silent, that would be great. So, first order of business, we have minutes to review. Do I have a motion on the floor for approval of the minute meetings from September 23rd? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any additions, corrections, edits? Yes, Ms. Kress.
On page 5, under number 4, it's the first sentence, second line, so it does not sit right instead of set right.
Which line? If you'll repeat that one more time.
Okay. Number 4 on page 5, it's the first line, or it's the first sentence, the second line, so it does not sit right.
Anything else?
Nope.
Any other changes? All in favor of approval of the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is approved. Minutes are approved. All right, next step, we're going to move into the comprehensive plan review. If we can, absolutely. We do want to take a moment to introduce our newest member, and let me find Mr. Hayes. Is that correct? Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. Good meeting to start with. All right. So we will start now with staff presentation. We'll start by swearing everybody in who may be speaking today for staff.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Edgar, if you'll read the agenda item.
Docket PZ-25-028, public hearing regarding the adoption of the updated Oldham County Comprehensive Plan.
All right. Thank you, Ryan Fisher, Director, Oldham County Planning. Just so you know, you will have to swear John Hine in when he comes up to do his part, because I sent him on an errand right before you did that. So just remember that when he comes up here. So this is the 2025 update of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. We're about to go through 146 slides, so everybody get comfortable and used to my voice, because I'll be here a while. So the update this year, we titled it Keeping Oldham County on Track. And I'll go over that here in a little bit, my initial thoughts of when we created that slogan and what our thoughts were as we go through this plan. So before we begin...
Sorry, we're getting your time.
Okay. How much time do I have, by the way? Because I might need an extension today.
Okay.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to need an extension. We'll pull together all the time that I haven't used in the past, and I'll use rollover minutes today. So when it gets to 20, just stop me, and hopefully somebody will make a motion for me to continue. So what is the comprehensive plan? So the comprehensive plan is covered under KRS 100. That's the state law that gives planning and zoning at the local level the ability to do all that we do. So Chapter 100 it's a long-range document, the comprehensive plan is, that outlines a community's vision for its future. Includes recommendations for land use, transportation, all of the things you're going to see in the plan elements, economic development, community facilities, and it really serves as kind of the guiding blueprint for the community's growth. It is a mandatory prerequisite for a zoning ordinance, so you have to have a comprehensive plan before you can have the zoning ordinance, although it should guide more than just zoning decisions. The plan's goals and objectives, which you'll also hear today, which are ultimately approved at the legislative body level, are used by you all for recommendations on zoning map amendments and development proposals. You'll hear council come up here a lot and say it complies with land use objective 1-3-1. So those are used in those decisions as well. So just a little bit about what the comprehensive plan is. Parts of the comprehensive plan in 100.187, a comprehensive plan must include certain sections. So it must include a goals and objectives section, which we'll go through today as a significant part of the document, actually. It encompasses a land use plan element, so we're going to look at the future land use map, a few proposed changes we've recommended to the future land use map, and then it incorporates other things within the plan elements, and in particular, it needs to include stuff on transportation, include things on community facilities, fire stations, police stations, things of that nature, economic analysis, economic survey and analysis, and then background information. So you'll see we've got updated information in there from the census on growth in the county, what the projected growth is in the county according to the census, and things of that nature. Its purpose and function, a couple things. It guides development. It acts as a roadmap for development, especially with the future land use map as we start to see where we think development might occur, whether that's residentially or commercially. You'll see that kind of roadmap laid out. It's mandatory for zoning. I mentioned this already, that it's a mandatory component for our zoning ordinance. It is developed with public input to ensure it reflects the needs and desires of the community, residents, and stakeholders. And hopefully you'll see some of the parts that we did in the comp plan this year. We tried to get as much public input as we could. Long-range vision. It provides a long-term perspective for growth and development, looking beyond current conditions to future needs. You'll see the original comp plan that we're going to talk about today was developed in the early 2000s and ran through 2020. So now we're kind of looking 2020 and beyond. Every 5 years, you all have to hear this, so it doesn't mean that we have to enact a completely new document. In 5 years, staff may come before you and say, we want to keep everything as is, and you all will just approve it up the chain. So it does provide that long-term vision, at least over the course of 5 years, but some documents may have that projected vision even further. And it provides a legal framework, once again, provides that basis for rezoning. When you hear the lawyers come up here and talk about compliance with the goals and objectives, it provides those grounds for rezonings. So, as I mentioned, back in 2002, Outlook 2020 was approved. And so that was really a vision from the early 2000s looking forward to 2020. Was readopted in 2007 with just a few changes, was overhauled in January 2014 with the adoption of goals and objectives. And then the current comp plan that we've been using was approved back in November of 2020. The work on that was started in 2019, and then it was formally adopted in November of 2020. So as Buzz Lightyear likes to say, to 2020 and beyond there. Now, we'll provide a quick disclaimer because I did not get Disney and Pixar's permission to use that. So I don't plan on making any money off of this comp plan, but I just want to provide that disclaimer that Disney and Pixar did not give me permission to use that. I'm sure Barry Baxter's probably got smoke coming out of his ears right now. So the timeline of events, our comprehensive plan phases. Back in November, late November, early December, our staff kind of sat down and kind of figured out what we wanted to do with the comp plan because we knew We were going to have a whole year to complete that. You all heard an extension of the comp plan last year towards the end of the year because, as you know, Jim Urban retired in August. I took over that role. We had a lot of new staff come on board, so we didn't want to take that on at the end of that year, and so we got you all to approve an extension for another year. So we kind of outlined a framework of how we wanted to go about this, and so we really put it into 4 phases. And we'll go over these a little bit more in depth as we go through the next couple slides. So where have we been and where are we going? So that first phase was kind of a framework phase. We started in with kind of figuring out what we wanted to do in the public meetings and things of that nature. We started gathering the census data and doing the research component of the comprehensive plan. And then we established focus groups. You'll hear more about these in the next couple slides, but what we did was, especially for the plan elements, I always used to use a slogan in another career I had that was, you put the right people in the right seats on the right bus. And so those right people in the right seats on the right bus are the people that do the types of jobs within the plan elements every day. And so the library director, the parks director, Jim Silliman, we contacted CSX, KYTC, all of those groups that are integral in all of those plan components. We got to serve on focus groups for us, and we'll talk a little bit more about what they did here in a little bit. We also established a steering committee, which was essentially just a group to kind of guide us to make sure we were going the right course. They didn't really make any decisions on anything that took place in that comp plan, rather than saying, yeah, it sounds like good. They reviewed some of our stuff, but at the end of the day, they just kind of kept the ship going in the correct direction as we went through this year-long process. And then we essentially created working drafts out of the work that the focus groups did. So work smarter, not harder. So I let the focus groups really kind of write their sections on where they have seen their agencies and their departments within the last 5 years go, and what their goals are going forward for the next 5 years. So the water district, the MSD, transportation, KYTC, and the highway plan. So we got all of those individuals together to really write those plan element sections. We then tailored it to kind of make it look like it was one fluid, cohesive document that one person wrote. And so we created those working drafts, and that was kind of our framework phase of this. So I can't be more thankful for our team, our staff in planning and zoning, as well as Matt Toller with GIS, who was integral part of creating those maps for us for the future land use. I really think I'm really happy with the document we've shown to you today. It's going to look really great once you don't just have a copy with a binder clip on it, and we get it bound into a really nice looking book, because I really think our staff did as great of job as some communities that utilize consulting firms and pay $50,000 to hire a consulting firm to come in from out of town, from out of state, to do the work for our local community. So I can say that I'm really happy with the work that we did on a very limited, small budget to save unneeded, really taxpayer money to go out and hire a consulting firm. So I think at the end of the day, it's a very professional looking document, and we put a lot of work into it. So the steering committee. Steering committee was a group of several individuals. I know there's one out here today. I know a couple more were supposed to come. There's a few that are on fall break with their family and can't be here. But those steering committee members were once again sort of brought together to kind of say, hey, let's keep us on the right ship. And we got all different ages. We had people that have lived here their entire lives. We've got people that have, come here later in life. And didn't necessarily grow up and reside here. So we got a good cross-section of people. The hard part was I wanted to make sure that nobody on the steering committee really had anything to necessarily gain by the comp plan. And so that limited a lot of developers and builders and things like that from getting them on the committee, because they're the ones that bring in projects to you all for hearings. And so I wanted to make sure that didn't take place. So finding a group of about 7 that didn't have anything to really gain by the comp plan was not the easiest task in the world. So you'll see here in a second, they met a handful of times. And I know you all had expressed some interest in asking the steering committee some questions. So like I said, I know one is out here, Tad Douglas, and I do want to thank him for his service to the steering committee. Our focus groups. These focus groups, once again, met just a few times with us. A lot of them only once. I sort of told them what I wanted them to do and then set them free to do their work. And then they sent us those rough drafts of the plan elements that you have before you today. So you can see those focus groups there, and those encompass all of those different sections that you're going to see within the plan elements. So economic development, public safety in regards to the community facilities, transportation. I was feeling pretty lucky one day because I got somebody from CSX to email me back twice within the same week, so I thought I was really doing great. So we did get some input from them. We had our parks supervisors, or parks directors, both from the county and at the city at the time, both participate, as well as several different representatives from our utility agencies. So our second phase, we incorporated our public engagement part here, where we had our stakeholder meetings. And over the course of 5 different days in early May to mid-May, we had 5 different public meetings that were held throughout the county in different locations in the evenings where people could attend. And you can see those locations here, a few pictures from our events that we did have. I do want to give a special thanks to Sheriff Tim Wakefield and his staff. They did provide security for us at those events. In addition, they helped us clean up too, which I don't think is part of the role, but helped us roll up tables and pick up chairs and things like that. So I do want to give him and his staff thanks for that. So by the numbers, if you look at, and this is in your book, it's on one of the early pages. I'm supposed to be flipping through here, so I'll make sure I tell you that. But you'll see, looks like it's on page 4. So you'll see a by the numbers page. One of the things we did do was created a comprehensive plan website. We wanted that to be something that was completely separate from our planning and zoning page. It could be linked directly from there or from our main county page. But we wanted to make it a site that was just very specific to the comprehensive plan. And so we created that website early on. At the time this page was created, it had 3,429 visits. There's obviously, that number's continued to rise, but at the time of when we kind of went to press with this, it was 3,429 total visits to that site. Talked about the steering committee. We had 4 meetings with them. We kind of had an initial one. We had one where we kind of took that stakeholder feedback that we got from those meetings. We had a meeting with them about that feedback we got about the survey results, which you'll see in your document, actually on page right after this. We also met with them when we came up with kind of our future land use map thoughts, and that was based off of the public input we received at the stakeholder meetings on, certain areas and what that land use should be. Sort of just laid that out in front of them and said, what are your thoughts on some of these things? So those 4 steering committee meetings, we had 6 focus group meetings. If you saw, there were 5 focus groups, so we really only met with most of them one time. I can't remember which one we met with twice, but they must have done something wrong, so we had to call them back in. So 6 focus group meetings. We had those 5 public meetings we talked about. Within those public meetings, we did have a survey. You can see that on the next couple pages after this page in your book. So we did have a survey that was not only could be done at the meeting, but it was also online. So we left that open for a couple weeks after those stakeholder meetings were over. We got 407 surveys submitted in that. You'll see here in a second about our photo contest. We had 12 different photo contest entries. It was one of my goals to change the cover of our comp plan, because every time one particular local attorney likes to come up and show it on the screen, we always like to go, we want to get rid of that. So you're going to see a new comprehensive plan cover based off this photo contest we did. And then after we got the initial public feedback and we created a revised document, we had a period of time where we had online public comment that people could email results. That time period actually got extended from what it originally was, an extra 10 or 14 days, I can't remember what it was. So it was actually extended. We got a total of 10 online public comments during that period of time. So that's just a little bit by the numbers as we went through this process. We went in then to the refinement and review phase, our third phase of the comprehensive plan, where we started to incorporate that stakeholder feedback that we received at those meetings, creating that revised input and revising those drafts a little bit. And then once again, we posted that on our website, allowed for that public comment period of time where we got 10 comments from individuals on changes that they still would like to see. We then took that to the study review committee, which for those of you who serve on that, thank you for your service to that. So we took that to the study review committee, where we had one meeting, kind of went over everything, and that was then moved forward to you all, which brings us to today and brings us to really our fourth phase where we finalize and hopefully adopt this edition of the comprehensive plan. So we created a final draft. We got our study review committee to give final approval to that and recommend it to you all. If you all choose to approve this today and move it forward, it'll go before all the legislative bodies of the county. So we'll need to go before Oldham County Fiscal Court, City of LaGrange, City of Crestwood, and City of Pewee Valley. Talk a little bit about our photo contest and our 12 entries we had for that. It was to fit the theme of keeping Oldham County on track. So I won't lie, my first official thought was I'm going to get some really great train shots. Turns out not many people are as into trains as I am. So I didn't get as many train photos as I thought, but we did get some great photos. We did have a voting booth set up. Sandy Rugg-Roden from our staff kind of did this because you can tell that wouldn't be something that I would do. I'm not that crafty. So we went through, we had a voting contest to see who won. And the voting took place at those 5 public meetings. We also had an extended time after that where these were set up in our lobby and people could vote. If they came in and were pulling a building permit, it was there for them to be able to vote. We had 60 total votes submitted, and the winning photo took almost 70% of that vote. And so I'm proud to show you our new cover photo, which I think, and this is, maybe I'm skewed in my view, but I think it looks a lot better than the previous one. And so the winning photo there was submitted by Joni Buttorf. And that is the new cover photo of the current comprehensive plan. So that winner was Joni. She was born and raised in Oldham County and is proud to raise her children, David and Anna, here as well. She operates a local law firm, which specializes in real estate law, elder law, estate planning, wills, and trusts. This is not an advertisement, but just reading this. She has lived in some other places, even though she was born and raised here, and you see those, Washington, Virginia, New Mexico, Prague, Czech Republic. And then even though she has traveled all around the world, Oldham County will always be home, and she's happy to show everyone the beauty it offers from her favorite unnamed spot, because I don't think she wants anybody joining her out there. So that was the winning photo contest. We incorporated that in, if you notice, to the shape of Oldham County. And then wanted to make sure we listed all of the different communities in Oldham County as well, because we want this to be one comprehensive document that makes sure we include Ballardsville and Buckner and Pewee and Westport and Goshen, LaGrange and Crestwood. So we wanted to make sure that was on there as well. And then I did get at least some train tracks up there at the top. Even though you all may think that's a picket fence, it's not. It's train tracks up there on the keeping Oldham County on track portion of the document. So I at least made sure the train got in there somehow. So with that, I've covered a little bit about this already, but that original comprehensive plan established back in the early 2000s. Our last comprehensive plan, that work was started in 2019. It was approved by you all in November of 2020. In PZ 20-020. But growth in the county we know continues, and you'll see in a second when we go over the census numbers that it's going to continue, at least according to census figures. And so this collective plan, the comprehensive plan, is going to serve as a guide for that development and policy implementation over the course of at least the next 5 years. Our successes and our future are dependent upon collaboration between our local and state government, our economic development staff, private developers, and of course the public. So over the course of the last 5 years, since the 2019 comprehensive plan was brought before you, we've seen numerous different, hopefully what we would consider improvements in the county, changes to some regulations over the course of those times. So I'm going to run through these pretty briefly. They are in the document in some of the first couple pages. But we revised our school capacity to consider multifamily attached developments. That was back in 2023. We revised our short-term rental regulations as that short-term rental trend sort of took off, we wanted to make sure we got, I don't want to necessarily say we got in front of those regulations. We kind of had to deal with them as they started to change. We also saw exit 20 get open there off I-71 onto Ernie Harris Parkway. We've seen updates to several different plans. You'll see there in the major thoroughfare plan update in 2003, 2010. We had construction of Eden Parkway and East Peak Road within the Oldham Reserve Business Park back in 2021. The Commerce Parkway extension from Kentucky 393 to Mattingly Road. And as you all know, there's been several developments that have come before you after that extension was completed. And right now they're under the current construction of the Wawa as well as those spec warehouse buildings as well. You had approval of the Clore Station Mixed Use Development Master Plan, which is kind of starting to kick off with their phase one now. It's a 500-acre property located off exit 14 in Crestwood. Construction slated to begin in 2026 and will be phased out over the course of the next 30 years. So some of you all may still be serving on the Planning Commission then, so you may get to see everybody's like, no way. So that'll be phased out over the course of 30 years. Oldham County became the first county in Kentucky to provide fiber optic high-speed internet access to the entire community. Created the Oldham County Waste Wizard. There's a solid waste section now in our comprehensive plan because I wanted to give them a little bit of kudos to things that they do around the community as well. So Becky Zockline, who's getting ready to retire from her position in solid waste and recycling, that she improved communications through that solid waste and recycling wizard that they have. Kentucky Highway 22, KIPTA did a transportation planning study to look at Highway 22 all the way from that Hounds Lane intersection all the way down to 329 at the Dairy Queen to look at some intersections that are obviously troublesome if people travel that section of road. So that is obviously kind of starting already with one particular intersection improvement to go. And I'm sure Jim Silliman, if you call him up here when we get to the transportation section, will be able to answer any other questions you may have about anything related to that. Development of the Oldham County Bike, Pedestrian, and Greenways Trails Master Plan back in 2008. It kind of hit a little stagnant point, but that is starting to kind of get kicked back off. There was and I'm probably going to say this wrong, but a leadership Oldham County group that kind of wanted to get back into looking at that Greenways Trail and bike. And so you'll see when we get to transportation section, if you haven't, there's some stuff in there about increasing walkability and bikeability and things like that. Crestwood adopted their own master plan back in 2024, which is going to provide guidance and direction for future growth within Crestwood. Once again, we had some watershed master plans that saw some updates to, and several different new community facilities, our aquatic center renovation, the new public library out in Goshen, which was one of the sites of one of our public stakeholder meetings. North Oldham opened a new fire station out in Skylight this year. I keep trying to change the date of the courthouse renovation on the completion, but we'll just keep it at 2025 right now. But that's obviously still ongoing. A new animal services building near Oldham County High School, as well as the Springs Park in LaGrange. And at the time I wrote this, I just called it the Fiscal Court Reception Center. I know it's got a name now, and I can't remember what it is, but it's something with a year. So they also opened up that. So with that, I'll pause before we get into this next section. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions about that, or if we want to go through this whole document and everybody has to remember all their questions.
Why don't we hold off and let you keep going?
Okay, I'd write them all down then. So goals and objectives. So we've got several different sections on these goals and objectives: future land use, transportation, community facilities and services, environment, housing, economic development, and tourism. A couple of those, well, the tourism section is completely new. There was never a tourism section before. So I thought that was an integral part of the community, and if somebody does want to locate a business here that's going to provide hopefully maybe a boost to tourism and getting people into our community, maybe that's to stay in a hotel, to stay in one of our Airbnbs, I thought it should be included in the comprehensive plan. So that is a new section. I won't go over this super in depth for you. just kind of gives the outline of those goals, because you're going to see goals in here, you're going to see objectives, and then obviously from that kind of there's some action items involved. A lot of those are from the developer standpoint when they come in and say that their project complies with so-and-so objective, but there are several objectives that you'll see in here that are really action items for staff. Whether that's to assist other departments with master planning, whether that might be the parks. And before it said, I think the old comprehensive plan language they used in the goals and objectives was staff might help them. I wanted to change that to staff, that we will assist those agencies in doing any of that. Because once again, so that we can become a cohesive, comprehensive group to make sure that plan going forward, we're all on the same boat and we're all rowing in the same direction and not just constantly going around in a circle, which maybe sometimes we think is going on. So with that, Oldham County is, and you're going to see these certain sections spelled out through here in different ways. So our first section is the land use goals and objectives. One of the things about the goals and objectives that I want to go ahead and note is that there were 36 different goals in the 2019 comprehensive plan. We've taken that number down to 19. There were 104 different objectives that could be thrown out to you all at different hearings in the 2019 comprehensive plan. We have decreased that number to 44. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, are we watering down our document? I'm going to kind of go through this and show is that in a lot of these areas, we have the same number of goals that we had before. A lot of these are maybe rewritten. Some of them were redundant, and you found the objectives in other sections, or they were objectives that were things that were already in our regulations that don't necessarily need to be spelled out in the comprehensive plan as well. Those things that are already being done, maybe not even by us, maybe elsewhere that was being done. So we took out a lot of those objectives as well to not have such a open, broad spectrum for people to go, well, I'm going to pick and choose this one and this one. Let's condense it and let's allow people to really find the goals that we deem serious in the county and what we want to accomplish. So starting off with that, I will say the land use goals and objectives, there were 4 in the 2019 comprehensive plan. There are still 4 land use goals and objectives. A lot of these have been reworded a little bit. And so you see those 4 goals there listed for you on the screen. Now, I don't know if you want me to read all of this to you all. I hope not. But maybe I need to. But land use goal number 1 is to provide for planned and orderly growth to protect land from premature or unsuitable development. That was essentially reworded from what was there before to pretty much say the same thing, taking out a lot of unnecessary words. So the first objective is that the new development should be compatible with surrounding land uses, community, and local infrastructure. That is once again very similar to an objective that was in 2019 but reworded. So the comprehensive zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations are going to implement those principles in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations will reflect level of service and capacity standards in conjunction with community agencies having jurisdiction. So you know, when you all hear cases here, you hear from Charlie Ward with the Oldham County Health Department to talk about the availability of septic. You hear from MSD when they have developments that are on sewers. You hear from Russ Rose's comments at TRC for, the availability of water. You hear from our fire protection officials to ensure that new developments have fire hydrants put in and things of that nature. New developments shall meet or exceed level of service capacity standards or mitigate deficiencies to ensure services, infrastructure, and agencies are not strained beyond adequate capacity. And then promote adequate transitions of land use intensity and scale and ensure buffers between incompatible land are used to ensure character and function of each land use type. That's similar. We've got landscaping regulations that require a certain amount of buffers and tree line between areas that may be commercial in nature and areas that are next to residential uses as well. Continuing on there with a second objective, preserve areas of environmental concern, including soil, topographical, flood-prone areas, wetlands, and nearby wildlife habitat. A lot of these kind of have to do very similar to some that you're going to see in the environment section a little bit later on. Number 3, on that same goal, to find ways to preserve the county's rural character and agricultural land that enable such activities to coexist and complement one another and adjoining land uses. Should provide flexibility in zoning to encourage subdivisions which complement the rural character of Oldham County. Encourage the support of agricultural business and tourism in the county to create jobs, revenue, and preserve agricultural land. And encourage the preservation of land for agricultural use when it does not infringe on the development rights of property owners. We'll get into that a little bit more when you see the future land use map and something that we've done with that. And then objective number 4, to encourage development in areas with existing capacity, infrastructure, and services before moving into less developed areas of the county. So that's that. You'll hear the term infill a lot. And so infill in those areas that aren't developed rather than moving farther out in the county with development. Goal number 2 under land use, to promote a diverse range of housing opportunities. The state, and I know we talked about this maybe at our last meeting when KRS 100 just came out with a revised edition of that kind of changed your all's training requirements. The state is making a big push for you all as well as our staff to get training in housing. The availability of housing. And so we wanted to make sure that we look at promoting a diverse range of housing opportunities because we ultimately know the cost of homes, the cost of land in Oldham County is going up. So how do we get individuals who graduate from our schools here locally that we love, that maybe go away to school, to be able to come back and afford something early in a career when they're not making a lot of money, to be able to make Oldham County their home for their children. And so we want to be able to promote a diverse range of different housing opportunities. That first objective being encourage a balanced mix of housing types, including single-family, multifamily, mixed-use options to expand affordability and lifestyle choices. Number 1 there, housing supply and accessibility should include efforts to provide an appropriate mix of housing types and opportunities to meet the needs of all people. Promote mixed-use developments and designated areas for such development in the future land use map. And then mixed-use development should be encouraged to accommodate a variety of complementary and integrated uses which can help reduce traffic, encourage walkability, and locate homes, retail and employment opportunities within easy commuting distance. Promote connectivity between neighborhoods and encourage the integration of community and civic facilities in neighborhood design. Neighborhood connectivity, that's always something fun that you all get to deal with. Us as well, when a neighborhood comes in and we try to encourage that connectivity between neighborhoods because that neighborhood that's there goes, well, we don't want those cars coming through our neighborhood. So this is not much different than what's in our 2019 plan. The 2019 comprehensive plan also encourages connectivity. We know that currently our regulations state that only 1 entrance is needed for anything with less than 200 homes. But anytime we can promote or encourage that connectivity between developments, it betters emergency response, it betters traffic flow, things of that nature. So neighborhood connectivity enhances the quality of life by enhancing walkability and pedestrian access, promoting pathways that connect residential areas, improving mobility and access, and enhancing social interaction. Connectivity also improves that emergency response and provides pathways for ingress and egress in the event of an emergency. So that's continue to stay in here. A lot of that's been reworded a little bit. And then objective number 3, address affordable housing within all areas of Oldham County. Affordable housing is always a fun term because everybody up here, we probably have a different definition of what affordable housing means and what it looks like. But once again, we've got several different kind of action items there to look at as far as how we address affordable housing for people within areas of the county. Goal number 3 for land use, strengthen our local community by expanding employment opportunities that diversify tax revenues, support community facilities and services, and provide job opportunities for Oldham County residents. I think this original land use goal in the 2019 thing said, the very end it said for future Oldham Countyans. I wanted to change that to say we need to be doing it first for the people that currently reside and live here, and make this a desirable place for people to, continue to want to be able to move here, whether that's for getting kids into the school system or just for the beauty and the charm of Oldham County. So that objective: support the retention of existing businesses within Oldham County while ensuring growth is compatible with those adjacent land uses and the availability of community facilities and services. Ensure our zoning ordinances are current to avoid delay in approval processes. That's one of those things that I said is kind of a directive towards our staff, is to make sure that our ordinances are flowing with what is in the comprehensive plan, and making sure that those are updated in the appropriate times. One of the things yesterday when I was doing my training with Alan Hayes, we were going through the parking regulations, and one of the business uses in the parking regulations is video rental stores, and we kind of got a chuckle out of that, and we were like, this kind of goes along with maybe we need to make sure that gets updated, because I haven't seen a Blockbuster in a long time. So ensuring those are current to avoid delay in any sort of approval processes, coordinating with local public and private groups to ensure those projects support economic development goals and objectives, and creating incentives that encourage businesses to partner with public, private, and civic organizations to cultivate a positive public image, enhancing networking opportunities, and fostering unity through growth. Ensuring commercial and industrial land uses are available, and ensure that those sites are identified so that the surrounding community impact is reduced. You'll see in the few changes that we propose to make in a future land use, a lot of times instead of just saying there's a future land use that is commercial/industrial, which then opens up that flexibility for maybe a business to locate in an area that is surrounded by other commercial uses or other industrial uses, but gives a little bit of flexibility to a developer in doing either or of those. So locating those areas and making sure those are on the future land use so that we can ensure our growth happens on Commerce Parkway, on the Commerce Parkway extension, hopefully in the Oldham Reserve Business Park, and things of those areas, rather than them going outside into the county in areas that they don't need to be located in. And then promoting development in those existing areas that I just mentioned there. I got a little ahead of myself, but number 2. And then our fourth land use goal: protect the character of historic and culturally important structures and neighborhoods through the creation and use of historic districts and architectural design standards. I know this one has caught a little bit of input, but one of the reasons behind wanting to have a goal like this is because a lot of times staff gets put in the middle of, well, tell them we want the building to look like this. And we don't really have any sort of architectural standards outside of PUDs that have their own architectural regs to say, well, this is what it needs to look like. These are materials that maybe it needs to be. And so all we're saying with this goal is that if communities are going to desire to either protect their historic structures maybe within the city of Pewee Valley or within the city of LaGrange, in accordance with the comprehensive plan, they've got the ability to create historic boards or maybe historic overlays to be able to protect those structures, to maybe protect the facades of those structures if they're damaged, so that the facades of downtown LaGrange are kept intact if those buildings do have to be renovated or torn down in the event of a fire. Is that those procedures are in place, and it's not just maybe a local city official going, hey, you guys go tell them that it needs to look like this, because then the developer goes, well, where's that at? Well, it's not really in here. So develop and design guidelines to ensure that future development is compatible with that existing community, both in their historic and their cultural character.
I'm thinking we take a pause and see if any of the commissioners have questions for you as staff at this point, since we've covered quite a bit of information. Any questions so far by staff, by commissioners? Okay. Whoa, wait a minute. We do. We
Good.
do.
Didn't even have time to take a drink.
Mr. Douglas.
I've got to ask a question. You know I do. I know in the past, and I know it's in our regs, about an open space land use. Usually in LU1, we always mention something of that. I didn't see it in this time. So maybe I missed it.
Well, it's in there. It's been a little reworded so that it's not as obvious of the open space subdivision. You'll also see it later on, I think in the environment section.
Yes.
Is where we'll get to it as well. But if I go back through here, I'll find where it's alluded to, not just so open.
So for the commissioners, when an applicant comes in, they'll be able to word it somewhere for guidance for us in the comp plan,
Right.
what LU it would be pertaining to or what goal and objective. And we all know it's in the
Right.
subdivision regulations anyway, so we would just need to
Yeah.
identify those.
Right. And none of this essentially changes what's in the current subdivision regulations.
Yeah.
That's still something they can do. Like I said, you'll see another kind of reference to it in the environment section as well.
Anything else, Mr. Douglas? Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Allison.
Yes, on LU1 for the providing plan and orderly growth to protect land. It's on? Gotta get closer, is that better? Okay. Under LU1, where we're preserving areas of environmental concern, the question is the red pen landfill out there of how that fits into this, since there are environmental concerns in there today, and how we address that going forward.
Well, we've had numerous conversations about that area. I know at one of our public stakeholder meetings, we had a long talk. So he's asking the question about the old Red Pen landfill site out in Pee Wee Valley, as well as there's another landfill out in that area. And our original thought was, well, we would just maybe on the future land use map, make those areas black so that we know as staff not to develop those. And I got to rethinking, I'm like, that's probably not the best idea in the world to make these two great big black marks on Oldham County to be like, can't do anything here. Those sites, because those are EPA sites, those have a lot of different regulations behind them that we have in the course of my 3 years here have had several people come and ask to do things on that property. And as soon as we tell them what it is and what regulations, we never hear back from them again. So I don't know if they contact the state to find out what they can do and tell them nothing. But you'll see when we get to the future land use map, that area is kind of one of our areas that we've sort of made some changes to, not necessarily on those sites. But it really doesn't take away the current zoning of those properties, as well as what the future land use might be, which in the course of 5 years is probably nothing. In the course of 100 years, I don't know. I don't know what the EPA regs will be in 100 years, or if that those restrictions on that site will have been lifted by them. But there's so many other restrictions on that site, we decided to, because if we put something on it like a great big black mark, we sort of start to restrict the development rights of the property owner. The development rights are already constricted by EPA regs. We don't need to provide additional constraint on those because there's enough on it already.
In our plan, should we just have a footnote that there are additional restrictions on those, not to make them black spots, but just so going forward, people who are handling the plan in the future recall that there are certain other restrictions, not just what we put on it.
Yeah, and we can do that internally with the parcel file as far as, there's enough stuff in that parcel file. Once you start to look at it, you're like, even if you just started today, you'd be able to figure out you better go call somebody else first. So, like I said, there's probably been 3 or 4 people that have come on that site and they never come back.
Mr. Allison, anything else? Anyone else with questions? All right, you may continue on.
All right, transportation goals and objectives. There are 3 of these. And let me get to that page. So there were also 3 goals in the 2019 plan as well. So since I'm going to be kind of redundant with a lot of these sections are going to have the same number of goals, you're probably going to ask, well, where did all the goals go away from? You're going to find that there's 2 sections that had goals and objectives previously that are no longer in there at all. One is the Brownsboro Master Plan, had its own set of goals and objectives. You'll see where we moved that to, so nobody's throwing anything at me yet that I took it out completely. We moved that into a complete other section with a lot of our other approved plans and things of that nature. And then there was also a government section as well that had 2 goals, which was a lot of stuff that we do at staff level already. And so I took all of that out as well, which was 2 goals there. So you will see a few sections where we went down in a goal, but a lot of those, what you'll find is it was just redundant with another goal. So before anybody's like, it seems like you've got the same number of goals on all these, there's a reason why we went down in goals is because of those 2 sections. So 3 transportation goals and objectives. I will say that I'm probably not going to be the greatest person to answer a lot of these questions, so hopefully Jim is still here in case there's a question on a transportation goal. But the first one is to facilitate a safe, efficient, and connected transportation network that supports growth, mobility, and economic development. The first objective there is encourage improvements to existing transportation corridors to enhance safety, reduce congestion, and accommodate planned development. Develop and assign, well, a lot of these here, these are the same 3, actually all of this is the same exact wording as in 2019. The county engineer currently maintains those access classifications and things of that nature. So these are exactly what's in 2019 right now. So in order to save my voice a little bit, I'm not going to read all those in depth to you unless you all have a question. We can go back to them. Develop and maintain a major thoroughfare plan, which I did mention in something that has received some updates along the road. I didn't mean to do that one. That was not intended. But looking at those proposed thoroughfares and providing minimum right-of-way and typical cross-section standard stuff that Jim Silliman's office does all the time with developments. One note there, we'll look at number 2, encourage phasing developments when road improvements are necessary to accommodate those proposed project impacts. So we see that a lot when development comes in on how much traffic that may additionally generate, what traffic improvements are needed, and then when we can expect those traffic improvements to be done. We know that sometimes that's a little farther off. I think Brentwood is probably a good example, is that right now those road improvements at Clore Lane and 22 are just starting to be looked at in the realignment of the road. And Brentwood is, I believe, in their 9th section now, or something of that nature. So, but encourage that phasing of developments. I guess they liked that one. I don't know. When those road improvements are necessary. That third objective, establish minimum right-of-way design and construction standards. A lot of this is already in our existing subdivision regulations. So again, they're number 1, addressing and promoting the need for internal connections and alternative access. That's that connectivity that we talked about earlier. Background music, I like it. And then objective number 4, coordinating improvements to the transportation system with land use decisions to ensure maintenance of an adequate level of service. So you see there road improvement projects and other transportation recommendations that are found to be consistent with our comprehensive plan should be included as supplemental resources to the comprehensive plan. So there is a new 9th section in this plan that just lists all of those supplemental resources that are in compliance with things that are in our comp plan that have been taken before you all, have been taken before legislative bodies, the Highway 22 traffic study. There's current involvement right now in a traffic study being done on Commerce Parkway. If that gets approved at the legislative body level, then that'll be included in there. So that's where the Brownsboro Master Plan is located now, the Crestwood Master Plan. So all of those things are in compliance with our current comp plan, and we want to put those as supplemental resources rather than creating a long list of goals and objectives that, frankly, a lot of times are never, ever mentioned when a development comes through. So that is one thing there I'll go ahead and note on that 9th section. Utilizing traffic impact analysis to project, describe, and suggest ways of offsetting the effects of development. You know from hearing the numerous development plans and subdivisions that you all hear at the Planning Commission, you all know that traffic is always brought up. It's usually brought up by you all. It's usually brought up by Mr. Douglas a lot, asked questions about, but the developers are required a lot of times to have those traffic impact analyses done, and you'll see Diane Zimmerman come up and talk about the projected impacts to that and what improvements are to be made because of that. currently, those are things that we consistently already do in a lot of our projects. So that remains in the comp plan as well. And then number 6, utilize traffic calming techniques for collector and local roads to produce safer and more livable streets for motorists and pedestrians. You'll see a little bit more of that in the transportation segment where we talk about, bike paths and walking paths and don't anybody throw anything at me yet, because everybody's like, we don't want to become Louisville by any means, but how we encourage that walkability. And that's one of those things in the neighborhood meetings. We heard a lot of input from residents, especially in the area of Buckner, on kids that leave Oldham County High School or Oldham County Middle School and either walk to the YMCA or they go over to the pool, maybe to work, and they have to cross, a heavily traveled road like 393, or there's no sidewalks running along 146 to get down to the YMCA. So that is something that the public did state, is we want to look for areas where we can provide walkability for people to get places. My son goes to North Oldham. There's a lot of times he walks across the street to the new library after school. Every day when he does that, I tell him, will you call me when you get there? Because I'm frightened to death at them crossing 42 to get over to that library. So when we can do that, we want to be able to do that. You're going to see more on the Safe Streets and Roads for All, a safety action plan to look at those priority areas for safety improvements.
Ryan,
Yes.
I'm going to pause you. It looks like we're coming up on your time. Do I have any motions for an
I'll make
extension?
a motion to extend.
Hoping you wouldn't.
How about 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Can you do it?
No.
30 minutes?
Like, are you just talking about for this section or the whole thing?
Well, let's do 30 minutes and we'll increase it after that.
Do I have a second?
All right. Goal T2, supporting multimodal connectivity by promoting pedestrian, bicycle, and roadway linkages between neighborhoods, workplaces, and amenities. Just talked about that with a lot of the public input, stating that kids need safe paths of travel to get to the library, to get to the YMCA, to get to the pool or the parks, or going and playing pickleball. So how do we do that? So looking at master planning, looking at those improvements that we could possibly make in order to do that, working with our regional partners at KIPTA to be able to get that done as well. Enhancing opportunities for transit use by working with major employers and retail centers to provide park and ride facilities or to participate in ride-sharing programs. This is something that was in the 2019 plan. As well as in the 2019 plan, you still had TARC running their route between downtown and Oldham County, which we know is no longer in existence. But how do we still try to do that to, minimize the number of cars? We know this area, not just Oldham County, but this area in general. We love our cars and our vehicles and getting places. And I even joked the other day in Norton Commons, we were in there eating ice cream, and we joked that this is a beautiful, walkable place to live, but now everybody uses golf carts. So it's just kind of, we like our vehicles. And so how to get people out of that mindset to be able to encourage, park and ride opportunities or things of that nature, and addressing those issues. Number 3, coordinate pedestrian and bicycle facility planning with multi-objective greenway strategies. I talked about the Oldham County Greenways project. You'll see a little bit more of that in the transportation plan elements that we'll talk about. Goal number 3, protecting and preserving scenic or culturally important transportation corridors and resources. We know Oldham County has got a significant number of scenic corridors, and so how we identify and designate those and protect those from development and preserving those. And that's it on the transportation. I think I can get through the environment, and then maybe we can ask questions, since they're going to be for probably the same people if you have questions. The environment goals and objectives. So environment goals and objectives as well. We had 3 prior in 2019. We continue to have 3 in this edition. And number 1, preserve and improve the quality of Oldham County's natural resources, including water, air, and soil, while protecting the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens through a watershed-based approach to environmental planning and stormwater management. The first objective there, best management practices used on individual development sites to control soil erosion into lakes and streams, prevent hazardous materials from degrading surface or groundwater resources, and protecting water from other types of environmental threats. Once again, if you have questions on these, I'm definitely not going to be your person to answer those, but I know you all hear often from Charlie Ward with the health department. He was integral in creating a lot of the section that you're going to see in the environment plan elements, but just reviewing those practices, reviewing those ordinances that we have for soil and erosion control, and making sure we're updating those. Work toward implementation of a fully developed watershed master plan. Number 3, on individual development sites, blue line streams should be retained in their natural locations and conditions, and those already disturbed should be preserved from further degradation. So protecting those blue line streams and establishing minimum vegetative buffers for the banks of those blue line streams. That's something you'll hear Jim Silliman talk about a lot when we have development. So once again, if you have questions about any of that technical stuff, he's definitely going to be your person to answer those. Objective 4, on individual development sites, limit the use of septic tanks in designated conservation zones and floodplains, and encourage their use in areas with appropriate soil and groundwater conditions based on the recommendations of the appropriate agencies. You know that a lot of times we deal with Charlie Ward as far as those septic, but once you get into those conservation zones and floodplains, you start to bring in the Division of Water at the state level. So working with those agencies and referring to state standards for those on-site septic systems within the zoning ordinances that we have. Goal number 2 in environmental, allow site development that does not adversely affect environmental features and resources or air quality, and minimizes noise and lighting impacts to and from adjacent and nearby uses. Looking at the first objective there, areas with sensitive slopes. We usually look at those as anything greater than 30%, and you'll hear that a lot when especially if you read our TRC notes. A lot of times those steep slopes aren't mentioned on plans, so a lot of times you'll see that was a comment that we had from planning, is that you need to mention any areas that have steep slope. Should be used only in cases where sufficient long-term safeguards can be implemented to minimize erosion and eliminate the potential for slippage of structural elements. If you drive down 42 in the area there, just along Harrods Creek, and you can look to the side to see those homes that are perilously floating right above Harrods Creek, where the soil has eroded from the flooding that we had back over the summer. That's what we want to try to prevent with our development, so that we don't have situations like that occur. Encourage the preservation of natural topographic contours in site development, and restrict site grading to the minimum necessary to effectively manage stormwater. A lot of these, once again, are very similar, if not the exact same as what's in the 2019 plan that we currently use. Goal 3, protect and enhance the Ohio River corridor and its tributaries as a valuable county natural resource. Develop strategies and programs designed to focus community attention on the preservation and use of the Ohio River corridor, and coordinate these strategies and programs with the appropriate plans. There's been a lot of conversation, if you look at Schomburg Park and Westport and things of that nature, to be able to incorporate that use and to be able to allow the public to benefit from the view of the river and just being able to get down, to the river and enjoy it. So encourage those public and private entities to acquire land along the riverfront for public access, protection of natural resources. I know Kim Hides has been working on a kind of a riverwalk area down in that part of Westport. And encourage the development of land uses that are complementary to river access points, providing venues for community events and possibly festivals, but making sure these developments respect and protect that sensitive corridor, its habitats and soils. So with that, maybe a good point for.
We'll take a quick pause, and if we have any questions regarding transportation or the environmental sections for staff during this. Mr. Douglas.
I don't know if you want to answer it or not.
Probably not.
Okay, maybe Mr. Silverman can answer it also. I believe I alerted you guys about one of the traffic goals and objectives, and that was under objective T-1-3, number 2, where standards should address, and that was on the previous one, and I know it was in the Comp 2020 plan also, but now it looks like we just took the standards out.
Right. Yeah. And I think the reason for that, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, was this is a somewhat general document. When you start saying standards should address, we always look at, from the engineering standpoint, when we're looking at construction plans, much more a deeper dive into the design, horizontal, vertical geometry, site distance. So instead of listing a design manual, that was just stricken. So, but we still do that to address that.
I know it's in our regulations, so
Correct.
I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure that it just wasn't another oversight or something like that.
Yeah.
But, okay. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
In addition to that, you'll see if you look in the 2019 comp plan, there was a lot of different areas where there was commentary, but it was commentary that stuff is addressed already in our existing regulations. So there was no need for that commentary. So a lot of those areas, similar to the standard should address, just took all that out because it's to be redundant.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none?
You guys got off easy. All right, community facilities and services goals and objectives. So here is one where we had a decrease. There were 5 different goals in the 2019 comprehensive plan. There were only 4 in this edition. And I think that was one of them that, if I flip through here, once we get to it, is there was an objective there of just really it was a something that we do at staff level. It wasn't something that was really needed in the comprehensive plan. So it was an unneeded goal that we did take out of there. But you'll see we have 4 of them for our community facilities. The first one being provide for needed public community facilities and services through planned and equitable use of the community's financial, physical, and human resources. Maintaining and using existing community facilities when appropriate. And encouraging our departments and agencies to look at facility planning. There's been a lot of conversation recently around the need for a new police station. So encouraging our other departments and agencies within the county to look at their facilities and figure out maybe long-range planning for when we need those types of buildings to get constructed based on growth. Give consideration to growth and development priority areas when considering expansion or new construction of community facilities and services. And once again, reviewing those facility and service plans to ensure that when we look at those areas where we maybe see development occurring, that we work with our fire and police agencies and things like that to make sure that we've got adequate resources to be able to cover those general areas. You all know if you ever kind of follow along our TRC process, those agencies, especially the fire service, is very involved within the TRC process. Occasionally, the police are, especially if it's an area that's far out. When we were going through Norton Commons Hamlet, that is an area that is, kind of more in Jefferson County than it is Oldham County, just across the, right at the line. So, what is police protection like going to that Norton Commons area of Hamlet? How do we work with Metro PD to ensure that those resources are adequate out in those areas? So we do that a lot already, but that's in here. And then looking at any community facilities and services, any of those deficiencies, we try to look at those immediately and figure out what needs to be done. Number 2, plan and establish guidelines and coordinate efforts with community services organizations for the appropriate levels of capacity and service for sewage disposal, potable water, schools, fire protection, and solid waste disposal within Oldham County. A lot of those agencies are already involved in our processes at the TRC level. A lot of those agencies you see show up at your planning commission hearings to give you all input or answer questions. I know Michael Williams with our school board, I just saw him walk in. He's another one when we talk about school capacity, and then we'll look at them later when we get to the plan elements section. So just making sure we're maintaining and updating those capacity standards and really reviewing them to see, are those still needed? But looking at those and making sure that we revisit those. Maintain Oldham County's high level of educational and enrichment opportunities through continued investment in the human and physical resources necessary to meet educational and informational needs of a growing population. So working with our Oldham County Public Schools and other entities to coordinate those population projections of what you're going to see here in a little bit when we get to that section, with long-range planning for the schools, long-range facility planning, whether that's constructing a new school. You're seeing improvements right now to South Oldham High to expand that to get the growing population in Crestwood so that school isn't packed with students, and just the look at a potential for a school if it's needed. So working with those individuals to be able to do that, working with them to facilitate coordination and planning regarding their land use, site design, and infrastructure for any of those new school facilities that may be looked at. Considering opportunities to encourage the co-location of school facilities with libraries, parks, or other recreational opportunities. This is something you see in Jefferson County. Norton Commons Elementary School right in Norton Commons is attached to the YMCA. The new West Louisville YMCA on Broadway attached to a school. So you're starting to see a lot of those co-location of facilities with parks, with maybe other opportunities, so that once again, if you build the YMCA and connect it to a school, now you don't have to worry about the walkability of kids having to leave school and walk to the Y. It's all there together. So looking at those opportunities, and then once again, the number 4.1 there, creating those pedestrian and bike pathways as well. Number 3, expand countywide learning opportunities for all ages by encouraging opportunities for public and private partnerships with local schools, universities, colleges, and technical campuses to promote lifelong learning opportunities and create pathways for success. It's funny, this one, as I was sitting in an economic development committee meeting yesterday, this was talked about as far as KCTCS and their Carroll County campus, how they actually have worked with companies that operate within Carroll County to provide instructors to be able to train individuals to be able to get jobs in those facilities, Nucor, things like that. So they'll actually lend people to the school to be able to teach in that capacity. And there's actually a lot of Oldham County residents, kids that went right here to school in Oldham County that go to school out there. So what are our avenues for that to be here so that we can, not only make kids college ready through our school system, but how do we make them work ready if they, Arvin Center is a great thing within the school system, but how do we do that for maybe a kid that's aged out of the school system that maybe still wants to go learn a trade, welding, get into farming, things of that nature? What are our avenues to be able to do that? So we wanted to make sure there was a goal in there for that as well, and encouraging those commercial developments and businesses that create those partnerships with our community, and hopefully get those young adults to be able to stay here and give them a good salary so that they can, raise their next generation of family right here in the county. And then number 4, provide for exceptional public parks, recreational facilities, open spaces, and trails which support the preservation of the county's natural and scenic resources, wildlife habitats, residential amenities, and visitor attractions. So assisting those agencies in creating and updating those master plans that plan for the future, whether that's our parks or anything else. Working with Julie Wilson at the library. I know she was going to try to be here today. I don't know if she is. But working with her as well to making sure our libraries go well into the future. Economic development, I'll go on because I don't think there's probably too many yet. So there were 3 goals in what we referred to in 2019 as the business and industry section. We've sort of changed that to say economic development. There were 3 goals in that one, continue to be 3 goals in this one. A lot of these were reworded. So the first one, expand Oldham County's economy through business growth and job creation. Diversify that property tax base by attracting office, commercial, agribusiness, and industrial development in appropriately determined areas. And so I want to make sure that last part is put out there, that it's not just a free-for-all, that we want development and things everywhere. Those appropriately determined areas based off of the future land use map that you're gonna see here in a little bit. So promoting that development in those areas, and once again, Oldham Reserve, Commerce Parkway, commercial corridors, zone development districts, things like that is where we want to try to be able to see that development. And then connecting the business community with governmental, nonprofit, and private sector services and resources that promote that business growth and expansion. The second goal, encourage business development that enhances Oldham County's quality of life. Enhancing the quality of life by expanding investment in projects and programs that promote health, wellness, beauty, history, and conservation of natural resources. And then cultivating those relationships with our existing businesses as well as our prospective businesses to support their future needs related to expansion, relocation, or workforce development. And then number 3, pursue expanded infrastructure for the benefit of residents and a growing business community. Grow governmental and private sector infrastructure investment. Encourage developers to embrace enhanced infrastructure standards. Look at grants and programs to appropriate funds that support the expansion of our roads and utilities, the infrastructure that's needed for that growth in business, and then advocate for continuous reinvestment in existing infrastructure so that we don't just put stuff in the ground or put roads out and not worry about them ever again. So how do we continue that investment in the things that we have existing? And then I think I can get through this one, which if I can recall is the last one. This is a complete new section, so 2 tourism goals and objectives. Number 1, enhance Oldham County's brand as a unique, high-value destination while preserving and celebrating the character of its towns and landscapes and supporting vibrant new experiences. So promoting immersive, hands-on activities rooted in education, wellness, history, and creativity. Kim Hydes with tourism and has done a great job with farm tours and things like that to get people out to actually see farm life, with whether it's horses or visiting a local farm to look at dairy operations, things of that nature. So promoting that type of hands-on activities that we can have. Supporting the development of new accommodations, growing wellness tourism, looking at outdoor recreation, food, grade spas, unique event spaces, and spiritual retreat centers which promote quality of life. Looking at new military and veteran tourism programs, continuing to promote and develop new creative heritage and agritourism experiences that set Oldham County apart and worth the drive. Promoting and elevating Oldham County's appeal by protecting green spaces, supporting small business, and building a county-wide sense of place. Expanding that tourism program. Kim Hydes is trying to look at that tourism program in under-promoted towns. Westport being a good example, to be able to get people to visit Westport, whether that's for a lunch at Knock on Wood or looking at places down there to maybe incorporate some more Airbnb, short-term rental types of things that can get people down in that area. Reinforcing the unique identity that all of our communities have, whether that's Ballardsville or Westport or Goshen, that build a consistent county-wide brand. And then continue the beautification and tourism efforts. Once again, I mentioned Westport a lot in this presentation, but in Westport, emphasizing those riverfront assets and the quaint small-town charm. Number 2, position Oldham County as a place where people are drawn to visit, proud to call home, and inspired to build community by promoting experiences that celebrate its rural beauty, cultural richness, and welcoming spirit. And you'll hear more about these as it gets into a little bit of the tourism presentation that we'll have, but the tourism section alone, if you've looked through the comp plan, is pretty extensive. So a lot of this stuff is covered in there. So I don't want to be super redundant on it, but really looking at leveraging Oldham County's proximity to Louisville as a competitive advantage when finding things that are only found in Oldham. One of those may be a train that runs right through the middle of downtown. I don't know. But creating those marketing campaigns so that people that visit Louisville go, hey, let's go out here. This sounds like a neat place to go visit as well. Supporting and developing high-quality tourism experiences that enhance quality of life for residents and visitors. Encouraging the development, this kind of goes along with our parks and community facilities, but number 2 there, encourage the development of tourism assets that double as amenity for residents, whether those are parks and festivals and trails. There's a lot of stuff going on at Maples Park in Crestwood with different types of events that may get people to come out to Oldham County that may never have been out here before. And then hosting and supporting and promoting events and experiences that build community pride while attracting new audiences. And then promoting tourism's role in supporting a healthy local economy through, once again, small business, tourism industry, job creation, and responsible growth. And then looking at regional and local collaboration as well to look at unified countywide promotion and growth. And then number 6, develop and maintain and leverage place-based storytelling to promote Oldham County's unique identity. Stories that are rooted in people right here in our county, history right here in our own county, and landscapes that guide tourism, marketing, and product and program development. So kind of in conclusion there, tourism was never a section before, but you can see through a lot of those goals, if we can find development that also enhances our tourism goals and objectives, it could be a win-win for a lot of people. It could double as areas for residents to be able to go to and see, but then also looking at maybe getting people here that have never visited Oldham County. So with that, that concludes the goals and objectives section.
And with that, commissioners, we have questions on these last 3 sections we went over.
I just have a few typos to fix.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Ready? Okay. On the community facilities goals and objectives page, at the end of 3, there's 2 periods. I wanted to take one of those off. And on the CF1, the page that has objective CF1-2, that printed upside down in our packet. So I just want to make sure when it goes to print, it doesn't print upside down. Just that one page, that one side.
We did that just so you all see if you all were paying attention, see who got that far in the
See
document.
who was reading it. Okay. All right. And then goal TO-1 and the objective TO-1-1. This confused me until I looked later. I saw number 2, grow wellness tourism offerings rooted in outdoor recreation, food. That should be gardens instead of grades. It says grades, but it should be gardens. I found that later on in the packet. Number 4, it's continue to promote and develop new creative heritage and agritourism. It says and, it should be and. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Modal. No, I think that's correct. Modal is correct, yes. Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, I have one question.
Yes, Mr. Allison.
The tourism, developing that will actually bring more traffic and people into the area. In the transportation section, it doesn't seem to address the fact that we need to be looking at those areas as well from a transportation standpoint. Should we add anything in there?
Well, I think, and I don't know if Jim heard that question or not, but I mean, with any of our developments, whether it's a subdivision, I mean, traffic component comes into it. So even if somebody is coming in with a new project that could promote tourism, but I mean, really the existing things that are already here that maybe have never been used as tourist destinations before, I mean, I don't really know how much of it right now is affecting, any sort of traffic concern or problem or things like that. Now, I think when we start talking about maybe getting festivals and getting events and things like that, if you do something down in Schomburg Park right now, like what's the traffic going to be, coming down the hill in Westport? I think that's something that, if we have events like that down the road, I think that's something that would have to be talked about and done in conjunction with, obviously police agencies and Jim Silliman's office, things of that nature. So those are things that are already done, really.
Mr. Allison, anything else?
That's all.
Any other questions?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead,
Mr. Marsh.
No, Mr. Douglas, please.
Okay. Mr. Douglas.
Mr. Fisher, with the new goals and objectives for tourism, do you foresee any need to update our subdivision or zoning regulations to meet any standards for the tourism objectives? I mean, can you foresee, just like, I don't want to highlight any more than what was discussed about traffic, but anything else on that you,
I mean, I don't foresee.
I'm not sure what study was done and
Yeah, I don't foresee anything that would need to be changed necessarily in our subdivision regulations or anything, based off of what's in there on their goals and objectives. But it's obviously a new section, so when we go to revisit those,
Okay.
Anything else? All right, Mr. Marsh.
I was going to ask Mr. Fisher if this is a good time to re-up 30 more minutes and take a 5-minute break before that starts.
yes.
Okay.
All right, do I have a?
So moved.
Do I have
I'll
a
second that motion if it's a
All
motion.
right. We have a 5-minute recess. Oh, sorry. All right, as we head back to session, do we have any motion on the floor to extend the time frame for presentation by staff?
Thank you. First have to make
Thank you, everybody, for keeping me in line here. Let's first make that motion to come back to
So moved.
session.
Second?
We'll take a voice vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now, do we have any motions to extend the time for staff presentation?
Ms. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we add 30 minutes to the remaining 4 minutes of Mr. Fisher's time as he continues his presentation.
Do I have a second? All right. We'll take a voice vote. All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Fisher.
All right. I don't think I'll need another extension after this one, though, but we'll see. So we've gone through the goals and objectives section, which is one of those required sections from KRS for the comprehensive plan. We will now get into the plan element section, which is going to also incorporate the future land use map. So that'll be the first part that we look at, and then you're actually going to get a reprieve from my voice for a little bit, and other members of our staff are going to get to talk. So I'm looking forward to that. So section 1 here, the future land use map and proposed changes. So if we look at our current future land use map, this is our current future land use map as it sits today. So get a look at that. Keep that in your memory. When you see the new one, we'll then kind of go over the changes when we look at it. So I'll say this, note first on this one, all the different dark green and light green. So the dark green is agricultural, so future land use of agricultural, and the light green is future land use of conservation. So you're going to see on this new map is that a lot of it is dark green. That doesn't remove any sort of conservation zoning layer that we have currently, but in the terms of zoning regulations, agricultural and conservation have the same requirements. They have the same road frontage requirements. They have the same lot sizes, setbacks. All of that stuff is exactly the same. The only difference is conservation is steep slopes and near waterways. So you're dealing with a lot of floodplains. So from the zoning world, there's not a lot of difference. You will see there's still going to be light green on this new map, but I'm going to explain to you in a second what we've done with that. So the proposed future land use map is this. You can see there's a lot more just darker green color, which remains the future land use of agricultural. So you can see a good percentage of the county remains agricultural land. You obviously have the colored centered corridors there around the city of LaGrange, around Crestwood, and then out 42 as you come out of Prospect, hitting those areas up in that part of the county. So we'll touch on a few of the minor changes first that we did. And if we need to go back at any time to the proposed future land use map, we can. And so the first one is we cleaned up some parcel discrepancies from the previous future land use map. So since our land use map incorporates GIS, anytime a change has to be made to a parcel, you have to completely click all of the different points of the parcel. Our GIS guy explains this far better than me, but he has to go through and hit all of those points to be able to change it. So what you found in the current future land use map is the gentleman who worked in the office that did this back in 2019 was clicking parcels to change the colors, and he would miss a parcel in the middle because he didn't happen to click all of the lines. And so occasionally you would see this tiny little parcel in the middle of whatever that might be, residential, and it was still agricultural. So we simply just went through and cleaned up some of those discrepancies in the map. There used to be, in the 2019 map, there was right-of-way designated. There's really no need for that. It's not a land use designation. And so he took out all of those right-of-way colors, and they were like I think they were like a pink color or something like that. They were just kind of all over the place. So we removed those, and as well, we removed the single-family city designation because, once again, at the end of the day, other than lot size changes, if it's a single-family home, it's a residential home, it's no different than a use of a single-family residential home anywhere else. So there was really no need to have an additional layered color there for single-family city versus single-family in the county. We can always, on our GIS map, turn on a city layer to be able to show, okay, this is single-family subdivision, it's going in the city, and things of that nature. So that's still available, but to have a complete separate layer for single-family city, we didn't think was needed. So we removed both of those, and we took those out of the map and the legend. The other thing is we combined, so I talked about the green colors. We combined our agricultural rule and our conservation future land use maps into one color, and that's the dark green. So we combined all of those because, as I stated, in terms of zoning regs, it's exactly the same. Now, what we did do is we created the brighter green color as a conservation future land use designation. And what that is, and you can see the brighter green parcels there, what we did is we've been working with Mary Lowry. Okay, good. I got her name right this time. If she's here, I'm sorry. I keep wanting to call her Brady. We worked with Mary Lowry. In addition, we've been having ongoing conversations with Lisa Height and Kurt Mason with the Louisville Jefferson County Environmental Trust Board. And so what the light green designations are on that map are currently the recorded conservation easements in the county. Now, we do know that there's maybe some changes that we need to possibly make to this, that there's maybe a parcel or two on here that are in the process of going through getting a conservation easement on their land. But what that shows us then as planners is not only most of the time those conservation easements, because the family has designated it that way, that no development will occur on those lots, is that we know those lots are not in the game. Kind of like the red pin landfill that Mr. Allison asked about, other than this is something that the family has designated that we don't want any sort of development there. It also gives us an idea of when development comes in nearby to that, to maybe have that information ahead of time so that we know what potential public involvement may be in that nature. It gives us an idea. So that light green color is now just all of the recorded conservation easements. So there is a National Conservation Easement database that has a layer that our GIS guy can get from them that allows us to then put those in the map. Now, in conversations with the Louisville Jefferson County group, I guess there's been a lot of conservation easements that have been deeded and recorded that maybe haven't got put in that national conservation easement. And so I think that's maybe where we need to still have some ongoing conversations in making sure those, maybe get changed in the future land use map in subsequent years. And then the other thing we did is we labeled on the future land use map current, in progress, and approved developments to just assist in location and identification. That's going to be hard to see on this map up here, but on your map, hopefully you can see it. The ones that have been approved, that have come through the Planning Commission, that are either in the process of being developed or in the future. So those are the minor changes that were done to the future land use. Now we'll look at the proposed major changes, which there aren't many. So the first one is the front half of the KSR property. We've obviously heard a lot of talk about that KSR is going to be phased out, and the inmate population is fairly low now. They're not taking in any new inmates, and they're shipping them out to other facilities. We do know there's been a lot of talk of that. We think that probably within the next 5 years, it'll be phased out. We also don't know that. If I could predict the future, I'd probably be doing something different than being the planning and zoning director. And if I could do that. So we think that maybe that might be the potential. And so in looking at that, currently that is zoned in the future land use map as institutional. Which institutional incorporates any jail, school, prison, church, all of those types of things, which don't somehow have a whole lot of correlation to each other. Maybe they do. So it was institutional. We've looked at proposing that change to be mixed use. And once again, solely because mixed use allows some flexibility in use. We know that that's state property. We don't know what the state has in mind for that property, but mixed use allows some flexibility between, whether it's commercial, there could be a residential component into it possibly. It's one of those things that we don't know, and so mixed use is probably the safest bet as far as looking at the potential future use of it. So that's the first one. The second one is the Clayton Lambert property. They're at the corner of 146 and 393. You can see that property, and you all have had cases before, for zoning changes, that there's been a lot of parcels around that as they get sold off that have become commercial. So that we think, especially when the 393 road alignment, if it ever gets done, when that happens, that there's a potential that entire tract of land would be commercial in nature. And so currently it's industrial. We're proposing that future land use be designated now as commercial, because we think that's probably the better idea as to what will happen to that property after the 393 realignment, and just looking at the neighboring properties in what it has been rezoned to previously. The third one is the Commerce Parkway extension. We talked about this in our road improvements. And so a lot of that area was zoned just industrial. We're recommending that go to a industrial commercial designation to allow, once again, some flexibility in use. You see spec warehouses going in there. You see some retail at Wawa. There's a bank going in that area. So it just provides a little flexibility going up through that parcel of land rather than just being industrial, to give it some potential for commercial as well. And that's just on that side of Commerce Parkway going up through the extension there. And then the fourth one is Highway 22 and Highway 393. And this is a small little parcel on the north side of that road. We get a lot of calls about that parcel of land. A lot of people looking at, potentially gas station, something of that nature. It could just be a convenience store. There are, obviously, as you can see there in the red, that there's already a commercial segment of zoned property there across the street, down the road a little bit, where I believe the Circle K is. And so really just looking at that small little tract of land and saying the potential in the future is that could potentially be commercial. And then a couple other areas just to note, Jericho Road. There was a couple areas there you can see at the map on the left that were highlighted blue for future subdivision, light blue for future subdivision and things like that. A lot of those have been developed. And so we changed those designations to subdivision. And then the tract of land right in this area was previously in the future land use map, agricultural. And because of when we talk about infill of development, you've got development on this side of it, you've got development on this side. So if we think about that, the future land use there could potentially be single family. And so that ag single family designation kind of refers to, it would be a potential for single family. It's obviously got a lack of utilities in that area, but as other neighborhoods start to get developed, is there a potential there that could potentially be a subdivision as well? And then the last one is that area of Holly Gibson. We talked about that, looking at the Red Pen landfill site, which is right in this general area. But the only areas that we have really proposed at changing are a lot of these areas. And once again, it's just because of the infill of the current development that's taking place out there for residential, is that there's a potential that gets changed to. So it's really just on those two areas. It's more so kind of just some cleanup of areas that make a little bit more sense because of other development that's gone on around that. I put this up so that we keep in mind that the future land use map does not change existing zoning. Okay? It does not change existing zoning for anybody. These are just, we've got our glass ball out and we said, we think these areas are prime for this type of development. And you can see the major changes. There's really not many of them, and some of them are pretty obvious on what we need to do with those. And they're in existing areas where we see commercial or industrial development already. So nothing should be hopefully startling to anybody, but that future land use map does not change existing zoning. What the future land use map does is simply provide options for owners without stripping them of their existing property rights. So it still allows you to have a residential home there on the corner of 22 and 393, but it opens up some potential if you maybe want to sell your property to somebody for commercial development. It aligns now with the future land use that could potentially be at that intersection. It gives the community and its residents a general idea of what to expect. That within the next 5 years, based on current trends that we see, things that we've heard from the state about the prison property, gives us an idea of what we may potentially see in those areas. And then it makes decision-making less arbitrary with the future land use designations. So that is it on the future land use map.
So due to future land use being a larger topic, do we have any questions from the commission on this section?
I have one.
Yes.
The Clayton Lambert property, why would you go straight from industrial to commercial rather than going to industrial commercial as future land use?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, on Clayton Lambert, you went, it's industrial today, and you showed it, future is commercial. Industrial was gone. But yet we have some other places where we have industrial commercial. Why wouldn't we make that industrial commercial at this point?
Well, I think mainly because we probably really don't see that intersection being used in that industrial capacity anymore. When 393 gets realigned, that opens up for a lot more possibly commercial traffic. I know Jim Stillman's probably got a little bit more, to share on that realignment and when we may see that happen. That may not even happen within this 5-year span of the comp plan. But just our thought behind it is we really don't probably see industrial uses going in there. It's consistent with the zoning changes that have been made previously. And those have been made despite the fact that the future land use map said the future land use was industrial, yet those were able to go to commercial. So just because, once again, those trends of what we've seen previously with Aaron's Orthodontics, with the entertainment center, you've got the marathon on the corner, things of that nature, it's kind of consistent with those operations.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Allison?
That's it.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Douglas?
Was there any areas that we looked at for attached or multifamily? I know we saw mixed use on Commerce Parkway. Anything on other things of affordable housing for?
So there was a recommendation at one of the public meetings that we had more designations for multifamily. That's very hard to do. I mean, if predicting the future is hard enough, predicting the future of where we think an apartment complex might go, and I know a lot of public comment has been recently about Commerce Parkway. The intention of that was maybe not residential, but we've seen apartments being built there. We hear it all the time. And so trying to pinpoint where the next apartment building may go is even more difficult. So that's where that mixed use item kind of gives us a little bit of that flexibility to say, could be commercial, could be apartments. And what you find, I mean, what we hear a lot of times from developers and things is people want places to work and then they want places close that they're able to live. Once again, then goes into the bikeability and walkability that younger individuals want to have a place close by where they can go and work or things of that nature, or just the amenities to be able to go and get something at the store real fast and come back. So being able to try to track that. And so that's where that mixed use gives us a little bit of that flexibility rather than saying this is going to be future land use, this will be multifamily, because then that really sort of tease it into when somebody comes in and they don't have a multifamily development and they've got a single family, it just makes it a little bit more difficult.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will proceed on to section 2.
Okay, if you all want the good news now, it means you don't have to listen to me for a little bit. So John Hine is going to come up. I think he needs to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
John Hine, Planner 1. I'll give you guys a little respite from Ryan's voice and a little rest for him. Jumping into this population section, what you can see here is since the first census in 1830, the county has grown to nearly 7 times the population, from 9,000 to 67,000 and change, which is a significant growth and has kind of guided some of these changes we've made. Oldham County is ranked number 8 in overall growth out of all the counties in the state of Kentucky between 2010 and 2020. Oldham County is ranked number 7 in Kentucky in percent change in growth from 2010 to 2020. And the fastest growing city in this county was Crestwood in that same time period, growing by more than 1,600 residents, or 36.5%. The county is expected to surpass 85,000 in population between 2035 and 2040. This graph is showing these trends here. I believe this data was taken from the University of Louisville and Kentucky State Data Center. Just showing fairly consistent upward projection rather than staggering off or anything. In 2020, Oldham County's percent of population over 65 was 15.1%, which was an increase from the 2010 census, but still considerably below the state percentage of 17.8. The median age for Oldham County, is 39, and the median age for the state is 38.1. We do expect the Oldham County will see a significant increase in the number of residents over the age of 65. And if you look at the population tree on page 87 in this plan element section, you'll see that currently we have a fairly large block in the range between 40 and 54 years old. And as those groups continue to age up, you'll see that number in 65 and over start to increase as well. With the housing, according to a 2016 housing needs assessment completed by the Kentucky Housing Corporation, Oldham County has both the highest rate of home ownership and the lowest rate of renters in the state at 80% and 15.3%. According to the Census Bureau, Oldham County's median housing unit value in 2022 was $375,000, almost double the state values of $192,000. Here we have that median income between Oldham, Jefferson, and Kentucky, with Oldham County being $121,000, and that's almost double that of Jefferson and almost more than double that of the Kentucky. With Oldham County, we have an 8.4% population existing below the poverty level, considerably lower than the rest of the state and Jefferson County. The Section 3 of the Community Facilities and Services. This includes emergency services, libraries, and parks. Maintaining and improving these public facilities and services at cost-effective and adequate levels is an important community need. When community facilities are provided at appropriate levels of service, negative impacts resulting from new development are minimized. This is what makes Oldham County a desirable place to live, work, and play, we feel. And really kind of the core components of this section was that we reached out to the experts in this subject matter, Sheriff Wakefield, Chief Smith, Chief Fonte, the directors of the park and director of libraries, Gary Parsons, and Julie Wilson, as well as Stephen Hall with LaGrange. And those are where we really got the bulk of this information from. And then we just went ahead and dressed it up and formatted it for your approval. But within the book, you'll be able to see more about the runs, the services provided, the number of personnel they have on staff at this moment. Getting into the Parks and Recreation section, we at Oldham County have currently 6 parks in our jurisdiction, ranging in size from 5 acres to 217 acres, with a total of 461 acres. We have a community and convention center, aquatic center, recreational opportunities, and as well as places for special events. In the city of LaGrange, there are 5 city parks: the James Beaumont Community Center, the LaGrange Train Museum, the 18-hole golf course, the municipal course Eagle Creek, Walsh Park, the Event Center and Tourism Center, kind of right downtown, and then various recreational opportunities throughout the city. Within the city of Crestwood, they have the beautiful Maples Park, which is 22 acres, with the pavilion, the picnic areas, walking trails, the Dennis Dybell Barn, and a farm-themed playground and splash ground. For the golf courses in the county, hopefully we're keeping them environment-free. That's Harmony Landing Country Club, Oldham County Country Club, Neville Mead, Eagle Creek Municipal Golf Course, Glen Oaks Country Club, and Sleepy Hollow. So a number of recreational opportunities for people of all ages within the county. Libraries. The libraries have currently wrapping up their 2022 to 2025 strategic plan, and that involves creating one library serving one county with 3 different locations. That kind of culminated with the construction of this Goshen Branch Library. It's an absolutely beautiful facility if you haven't been there to check it out. They're increasing their community engagement and leveling up with staffing, as well as providing space for larger community events to serve the public at large. If you have any questions about those sections, I'm happy to address them before I let someone else take the mic.
Commissioners, do we have questions? Yes. Ms. Jones.
Okay, I just have a few things. On page 84, the top graph, the population by U.S., that decennial is spelled wrong. It should be DECENNIAL. You got that? Okay. And then on page 86, that table 2.4, why are the last 3 columns kind of offset from the years? The last 3 have more columns. Is that intentional or?
I'm not positive. I did not make this section, so I will have to defer to Senior Planner Barge when she gets back from her vacation. I don't know if that was intentionally done to represent this different group or not.
Okay.
I will address it, though, with them.
Okay, so you have a note of that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then on page 87, that top paragraph doesn't, I think, so the last sentence in the top paragraph says this statistic shows that Oldham County will soon see a significant increase in the number of residents over the age of 65 and will likely catch or possibly surpass the state median age. But earlier, it had said that, that it is already is greater than this state median age. So I think maybe it should be the percentage. Could someone just look at that?
Okay. Yes, I think
I think
you're right.
it's already over that.
Yes.
Okay. And then on page 88, there's just a space issue. On the second line where it says the Kentucky Housing Corporation, there shouldn't be that paragraph space there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on to schools.
Okay, that was enough of a break. I need to, the next time we do this, I'm going to have to let him go longer. I do want to just go ahead and mention, too, Julie Wilson, I know, was here from our library, so I do want to thank her. She's still there, yes. I want to thank her for her input. I don't see anybody else from this section. So as we get into schools, Michael Williams from Oldham County Schools is here with us. So he did compile a lot of this section. I know you all are used to seeing him at our hearings, as well as every January he shows up with new projection numbers and school capacity figures. So over the course of especially this year, you're looking at several different capital improvement projects that our school system is looking at. There are South Oldham campus improvements. I mentioned this earlier to increase a little bit of the capacity there. If you've driven down 393 lately and you've seen all the disturbance around Oldham County High School and the need for shuttle buses at their sporting events here recently, construction of a new Buckner High School. Looking at a future location for LaGrange Elementary School as that school continues to age, a Center for Creative and Performing Arts, campus, as well as a comprehensive plan for athletic and site enhancements for all campuses. Our school capacity standards, which is what we're most familiar with in our work with the school system, was initially created back in 2004. Primary objective of this policy was to ensure that local schools possess adequate capacity to accommodate projected student populations generated by proposed residential developments. As you had individuals moving out of the city and moving into suburbs and showing up in Oldham County to get their kids in a good school system, it became a capacity issue where I've talked to several individuals where at times there were kids in closets of rooms having class. So in order to not have that become a problem, this school capacity standard was created. Those development proposals could be denied if existing school facilities are unable to support the anticipated enrollment. I've never seen one get denied solely for that reason, but what we do see is that those numbers of building permits that could potentially be issued in a year are decreased in number based on maybe other developments that are in that area or based on the school projection numbers, based on the school capacity. He has got a very in-depth calculation that he does. If we need to roll a chalkboard out, he can write it up there for you. We can do that maybe, but supposedly it's pretty spot on and accurate when they look at their numbers. So the intent is not necessarily to restrict development, but to ensure that growth aligns with the functional capacity of the school system. So in other words, our schools operate the same way as sewer capacity does or fire protection standards. We've got to make sure that capacity is there before we just allow a free-for-all. So that's a little bit on the school capacity standards. This is in your section on those school enrollment projection numbers. This is what was provided to us back in January, the last time Mr. Williams was here. So these were produced in the fall of 2024. They're done annually in the fall, so this time of year. And then, like I said, Mr. Williams normally comes to our January Planning Commission meeting or sometime around there, December, January, and gives us those new projection numbers. So this is currently what is in effect right now and is in your comprehensive plan you have before you. And then just a few pictures of some of our schools around there. I mentioned Arvin Education Center earlier, just the asset that is to this local community and the classes that kids can take there, not only for maybe certificate programs with EMT and classes on firefighting, that those individuals could potentially go and get jobs at our local fire departments. Nursing classes, culinary classes. My son's going there right now taking a biomed class. So it's a very exciting place, and that kind of concludes the school. So I don't know if anybody wants to ask questions so that.
Correct. Do we want to open the floor for questions from the commission of Mr. Williams or Mr. Fisher while we're on the topic of education and schools?
I've got just two corrections, I guess.
Yes, that'd be great.
There's a pagination problem in this section. You have two 114s, one becomes 116. And on the page it is 114, should be 114, has a minor glitch by the East Oldham Middle School. You've got in that paragraph, they are done annually in the fall and allow, that just one needs to be struck. Those are the two items I had. Thank you.
Thank you. We did that to see who got that far too, so good job.
Mr. Miller, anything else? Okay. Any other questions? I do have one question for Mr. Williams. Mr. Fisher, will you put that chart up real quick? Oh, there we go. So
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed a pattern where school capacity, especially when you look at South Oldham High School, is reducing over projected future. Those numbers, projected numbers, with the growth of Crestwood that was mentioned earlier.
So we have seen a decrease in enrollment since COVID. Okay, and you can look at the trend of total enrollment. It is going down. That decrease has slowed for us. I'm in the process of actually doing projections for next school year already. It is slowing. what we are also seeing is a lot of the new subdivisions that we have gotten have young married couples with little kids in them, or they have high school kids that have now graduated. And so we're seeing that's going to start pick back up for us. So yes, you see South's numbers going down, you see OC's numbers going down. That won't be a permanent trend for us. I have been in the district 30 years. I have done projections for 27 of those years. We had years where we were growing 600 and 700 students a year. Now, we're not at that point anymore, but we may eventually get back to that point as the community grows. But we will have that capacity because that's what this ordinance does for us. It gives me the ability to say, not only to the superintendent, but also the school district and to you all, I know what we need and when we need it, and we can get that and our plans to start developing it.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right. Yes, Mr. Douglas.
Mr. Williams. And this could go to Mr. Fisher also. As far as future developments for like even LaGrange Elementary, have you worked with staff as to, and you don't have to disclose anything about future locations, but are we staying within the locations where future map use would be for future schools?
Mr. Douglas, to be honest, I know that there are certain sites that are being looked at. I'm not 100% sure on where all those sites are yet. They will tell me when I have to start that planning process. I'm holding out hope that I don't have to redistrict before I retire, but they will let me know. And I'm assuming that in certain areas, yes, there may be something that the district is looking at that may not say, oh, this meets this criteria, but it's enough area for us to build a school. Right. Because the state has standards for us that state for a school this size, we have to have so many acres to put that building on.
I just kind of wanted to put that out there because you're right. It's very difficult even for the staff or planning to predict where future schools may end up. Because a lot of times in the community, everybody's like, well, there's a school going to be coming down. So I'm not going to sit here and go through that, but I appreciate you putting that on record.
And I will state this, we have East Oldham campus, and everyone has asked, when is East Oldham High School coming? I will be completely open and honest. I will probably be dead before East Oldham High School gets here.
Thank you for your candor. Anyone else? Yes.
If I may, just for the gentleman from the school system, I've been real surprised in talking to folks when I make my way around the community in terms of homeschooling. And has there been any consideration in the numbers of forecasts that you've given us here for the rise in incidence of homeschooling or that phenomena in the county?
That's where you see part of our reduction in our numbers is families that have gone to homeschooling. I can't project how many kids will leave us to go to homeschool. I can tell you that with Liberty Academy, which is our now online school, we have gained some of those students back. So we are looking at things to make that process work, not only for us, but for the homeschool families that, they would still be enrolled with us, but we would be able to do their schooling online at home, kind of like as we did during COVID. You're welcome. I'm just going to stay here for a minute.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Seeing none, you may sit down we'll head on to environmental.
All right, a couple more quick sections of the plan elements. I'm not going to meet my 30 minutes like I said I was going to. So Section 5, Environment, these next two sections, Environment and Transportation, are both going to probably be better answered by Charlie Ward out here from Oldham County Health Department, as well as Jim Silliman. But if we look in your section there, and there's a lot of information in there, there's not many slides that talk about it, but there's a lot of information. The first one just talks about soil types in the county, and you can see there's over 74% of our soil types have severe limitations. And as you go on, there's a couple more figures that are in the comprehensive plan and the plan elements that just show topography issues, which is obviously a significant component of land development when they have to clear the land and build homes on land that has topographical issues. Includes that degree of slope where we talked about the severe slopes greater than 30% and karst areas as well. Charlie can answer much more questions on that technical nature aspect of that. Flood-prone areas, Jim Silliman is our floodplain coordinator, so dealing with flood-prone areas, and here you can see from our recent flooding we had on the Ohio here of what those flood-prone areas have the potential to become in events of heavy rainfall. So we've got in your comprehensive plan in Table 5.2, you've got flood-prone areas within Oldham County. The only one with the severe flood potential is obviously the Ohio River, but then there's a lot of creeks and things that have moderate flood potential, especially in areas of heavy rain over a short period of time, which I believe Tuesday we had our fair share of that. So you could see some moderate flooding in those areas as well. More in the environment section, you've got information in there about wastewater, stormwater, and water treatment. We got information from, Scott Treese gave us a lot of that information from LaGrange Utilities. We met with folks from MSD, Louisville Water as well, and there's some mapping in there. Louisville Water provided us of areas that need some upgrade in terms of water. Russ Rose with Oldham County Water was another one, and I know he's here today. And then Jim Silliman, he doesn't have a cool logo, so I just had to use his face. So I hope he doesn't mind that, or he can get me an engineer logo, one of the two. So we got information from all of those as well, and that is in your comprehensive, those plan elements as well. I'll hit transportation real quick and then open it up to if you all have any questions for these individuals that are here today. But transportation, if you look at that, it's comprised of a highway system, residential street system, and limited transit. Streets and sidewalks maintained by KYTC, Oldham County Road Department, City of Crestwood, and LaGrange Public Works. Over 360 miles maintained by Oldham County, 41 miles maintained by LaGrange, and 20 miles maintained by the City of Crestwood. So roads and development, obviously there's a close relationship there between development and the capacity and the adequateness of our roadways. So the one thing about that close relationship is transportation improvements that are done to roadways may stimulate additional growth. So the exit ramp being placed at exit 20 hopefully stimulates growth within Oldham Reserve. Just as any other, improvement in the transportation network may stimulate that growth. The flip side of that is that transportation improvements may be needed because of the increased growth. So we see that a lot with, I mentioned earlier, Clore Station in 22, or Clore Lane in 22 with Brentwood. I know you all have had Paramount Estates when it came through, or the reserves of Paramount, improvements that would be needed down at Lock Lane and 42. Improvements to that intersection. So you all see that all the time, and so you can see that close relationship between development and then our transportation network. If we don't get that coordinated, then we can limit growth just because our transportation improvements that may be needed, or we start to have deteriorating roads, so one of the two. And then the road classification, I talked about this earlier, is that transportation does do road classification. Looking at that, and this is spelled out in the plan elements, it includes 9 road improvement projects. And you can see those listed on this map that then go in the Transportation Cabinet's 6-year highway plan. And so there's a lot of different projects that are shown in there. I know the big ones, we're always talking about Allen Lane and when that's going to get done in 393. That's just two of the many. But once again, Jim Silman's probably got much more information that he can share on that. And then transportation also includes a lot of information in there on complete streets, looking at that bikeability and walkability that we've talked about, safe streets and roads for all. Mass transportation, I know that's a talk of a lot of people as we look to the future. And then our Oldham County Greenways Master Plan, which I mentioned earlier, has been revisited to look at. So with that, I have 22 seconds left, and if you all want to extend it by another 15, that'd be great. But then you all may have questions for Jim or Russ or anybody.
Do I have any motions to extend? By? 20 minutes. Okay. We have a motion for 20-minute extension. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Do we have any questions first before we move on for the environment and transportation sections? Yes, Ms. Jones.
I just have one spacing correction on that on page 130. And it's in that first paragraph. As such, MSD now operates all sanitary sewers. That paragraph space needs to be removed.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to solid waste.
Save the best for last.
Yeah.
A lot of what is covered in these slides was already covered, so I'll try not to duplicate too much of what the content that we've already heard. Sandy Regroden, Planner 1, Oldham County Planning. So the big thing with solid waste that's changed since the last comprehensive plan is in 2004, they had created the ordinance. And prior to that, it was different HOAs and cities all had their different rules and regulations and their own vendors. And with this ordinance in 2024, it made a comprehensive franchise agreement with the vendor, which uniformed pricing across the county. So 89% of the county is now covered by this agreement. All rental properties and properties in LaGrange, hold on right here. So in LaGrange, Pee Wee Valley, Goshen, and River Bluff all are required to use this franchise agreement. And the recycling, so along with this agreement in the home servicing of the solid waste, there's also the recycling center near the John Black Community facility that it's self-service, dusted on. You can bring your cardboard, paper, plastic, metals, tires, electronics, and the staff is there most days except holidays from 8 to 3, but otherwise you can bring it there at your leisure. There are several programs that the group has established, which tomorrow or Saturday, they will be having a hazardous waste and electronics drop-off event that you can go to. They also have every 3 years for 3 days, there's a tire collection opportunity. Throughout January, there's Christmas tree mulching. And in coordination with local law enforcement, they host prescription drug take-back days, and in coordination with code enforcement, community cleanup days where they bring out dumpsters and the community can use them at will to clean up their community. For more information, you can go to the website, and that is where you will find Waste Wizard, which Becky really wanted me to mention. It's a tool to get answer questions, find resources, and you can also find these special events that go on throughout the year. And that's it for solid waste.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on solid waste or concerns or changes or edits? Seeing none, we head on to tourism.
Okay, so now we can move on to tourism, which Brian covered a lot of that in the goals and objectives. As he mentioned, there wasn't much of it in the 2019 comprehensive plan. Thank you. And now it has its own section. And that before it was just like a paragraph under business and industry. And now it's its own entity. It has its own objectives, and you'll see like how much it's grown over the past few years since the last comprehensive plan. When we Try to keep up. So, as Ryan had mentioned before, part of our comprehensive plan development for 2025 was a survey. And in that survey, one of the questions was, where does the community want to focus growth? And the number one area that they wanted to focus economic growth was agritourism. And so you see that the push for tourism to really develop and become this main attraction in Oldham County, along with the community's desire to have agritourism be one of the main areas of growth, those are really in line, and you've seen it really grow over the past few years, and hopefully will grow even more. The proximity of Louisville to Oldham County is a benefit, right? But we have our own things to offer here in Oldham County. And we're not the same as Louisville. I mean, the three things that stand out that are different than Louisville are a feeling of safety. Obviously, I mean, we feel much safer in Oldham County than you do in downtown Louisville. Community-oriented, and the small town appeal, which is another thing that we're really trying to capitalize on with the local storytelling and the local resources and the local history, along with the agritourism. And you can see these numbers are from 2024, and the statistic, kind of speak for themselves. So in 2024, it was $50.4 million in direct tourism spending in Oldham County, $5.5 million in combined state and local tax revenues. There's 291 jobs supported by tourism, and it's ranked number 6 for total direct tourism impact within a 15-county region. Again, this goes back to Louisville being so close helps us, but we also have our own place in the tourism in Kentucky. And then tourism is funded exclusively through countywide transit room tax collected through hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, and short-term rentals. And with that is tourism.
Do we have any
questions?
Questions, edits? Yes, Ms. Jones.
Just a few minor corrections here. On page 153, it's the second from the last bullet point where it has that quote at the end, don't settle. It says 2 reproductions, visit the authentic original. It seems like that should be don't settle 4 reproductions. Okay, and then a couple minor things. On page 155, the number 3, let's see, on the right under the top strategic goals for 2025 to 2029, the first bullet point, it has the number 3 instead of 3 spelled out. And that's also in the third bullet point. The number 3 should be spelled out there. And that's the same in the first paragraph on page 158. The second sentence there should start with 3 spelled out. And okay, on page 160 under core marketing tactics, there's just an extra space there between in-state, the first paragraph where it says, the first paragraph under core marketing tactics, that space needs to be taken out. On page 161, under messaging approach, where it says from surrounding destinations, there's a move to the next line that shouldn't be there. And most of these are just very minor, but on page 162, under ongoing communication and stakeholder coordination, there's just some spacing issues there, not evenly spaced. And the same on 163 under economic metrics. The bullet points are just not spaced correctly. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Anyone else? Mr. Douglas? Any questions? Okay, seeing none.
All right, 2 more slides. But real quick, I will mention, she mentioned there was a hazardous waste collection event this Saturday. It was last Saturday, so please don't anybody show up dropping their stuff off on Saturday. Becky's probably down there going crazy. I'm surprised she hasn't run up here yet. But don't anybody drop your stuff off. Just wait till the next one. Section 9, supplemental resources. I talked about this earlier. All of those things such as the Brownsboro Master Plan, the Crestwood Master Plan, things that have been adopted that are in compliance with our comprehensive plan are all being put in this Section 9 where supplemental resources will be in there. So all of those items will still be informally with our comprehensive plan, but not tied into specific goals and objectives, things of that nature. So, like I said, all of those things, Commerce Parkway traffic study on there, just so you know, that is one that hasn't come through yet, but we think that hopefully will be completed and become sort of part of our comprehensive plan once it gets adopted. So just so you know, that's Section 9, that's where all the supplemental resources go. And then the best slide of the bunch is the one that says, thank you, I'm done talking.
Before we conclude staff presentation, do we have any last questions from the commission? No? Seeing none, the next step is to open up the floor to those who are in favor of this application of the planning and zoning that is before us today. What we'll ask is those in favor, if you would like to speak, if you'll stand and be sworn in. And then when you come up, if you will state your name and address for the record. This time frame will be a 50-minute time frame if needed. So we will start with those in favor of. After that, we will go to those opposed. We would ask that you also bring your questions, your additions, subtractions, or edits of recommendations at that time when you come up to speak. So would any of those wishing to speak in favor of the application like to stand? Yes. If those want to speak in favor, we'll be sworn in. Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Who would like to be first?
I guess somebody has to be first, right?
That's right.
That'll
Name
be
and
me.
address for us, please.
Don Erler, 4005 Old Highway 53, LaGrange.
Thank you.
I stand up before you today to thank each of you on the Planning Commission for your attention to a very long and detailed document. And the preparation obviously has been done. Ms. Jones, I compliment you on all of the corrections. When you write a 171-page document, there's going to be a few typos, so we do appreciate that. We really appreciate your service and your independence when considering this kind of action in Oldham County. I've lived in Oldham County for 52 years, and the people that serve on these commissions are to be commended for their service. You don't make a lot of money. It's just dedication to what we do here in Oldham County. I would ask, though, that each member think about whether or not they've been influenced by outside parties. Any ex parte discussions that may have taken place, obviously, are out of order in this kind of activity. And we certainly look to you to consider whether or not any of that could influence you in your decision-making process that's going on today. Also, any conflicts of interest that you might have personally because of the nature of your business or your personal life, please consider not voting in this particular situation if you have any of those. So we look to the commission to be independent going forward. I'd also like to thank the staff of the Planning and Development Office for their selfless work. You can see just on the by the numbers page the planning staff has gone above and beyond to create this new plan based on community feedback. That's where it comes from. This community and the people who live here, give input into these matters. And I think the planning staff, Ryan, Sandy, Anna's not here, John, they all do an exceptional job, and they've put together a lot of information to create this particular position. So I really want to compliment them on what they've done. The document's not perfect. It never will be perfect. It's a living document that will change, and we know that. But the planning staff has done a great job putting together goals and objectives, and I compliment them specifically in the future land use area, because this county and its value really goes to the issue of land use in the county, and that's very, very important to consider. People come to Oldham County because we have land, we have open space, we have opportunities, we have a great school system, and what we need to do is carefully plan that land use as we go forward. So this is a beginning step. I believe Ryan and his staff plan to address some ordinance issues going forward next year, but you got to start somewhere, and this is a great start. So really, really appreciate the fact that in future land use, planned and orderly growth to protect land from premature and unsuitable development is a very admirable goal, and I compliment them for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Great. We'll swear you in when you get up here. Thank you. You've been sworn in, but your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Mark Herbiner. I live on 18 Mile Church Road in Russell Corner. I want to congratulate you people for paying attention and not falling asleep and checking P's and Q's on this. It's a very important document, and you guys deserve a lot of credit. You guys are the ones that have to balance out the interests of the big landowners and developers who have a right to sell their land for the highest amount they can get, the staff who has expert experience in studied other counties and can give you recommendations, and also the stakeholders who are the voters, and we outnumber everybody else. And we are pretty happy with the way Oldham County has developed. We're happy with, for the most part, with 5-acre tracts. We're happy with businesses like the Rawlings Company. It's a great place to live, and that's what the stakeholders really want to preserve. A couple of questions I have is I saw some talk about future parks, and it said we have 461 acres, I think, under management now. Should a comprehensive plan also identify areas for future county parkland? Jefferson County has over 13,000 acres under management. I'm a former Jefferson County Parks Commissioner, and it's one of the largest urban park systems in the country. And our 461 acres seems like that gives us an impetus to look forward in how we can identify areas that would make public parkland for the future. And my other question regards to the process. We've all seen in the papers this week that there's been a lawsuit filed against the county because the process wasn't followed. And I want to make sure that the process is followed in this case. Has David Vogel contacted you or anyone on this board regarding the comprehensive plan outside of a public meeting?
At this time, we'll bring questions, and then we will address those. So for all those who would like to speak, they'll be each bring their questions, and then we as commissioners can also ask questions at that time. So anything else you'd like to add?
No answer now. Okay,
Not
thank you.
Not yet. Anyone else would like to speak in favor of? Ask questions? Yes, we need to swear in Ms. Lowry.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to commend Ryan and staff and everyone for the hard work that you guys have done and the members of Planning and Development for being a part of this process. It's been a long process, and you guys have worked very hard. I think an integral part of a comp plan are the public stakeholder meetings, and I'd like to reiterate what the responses of the related
Lowry.
survey show.
You can give your address.
Oh, sorry. Mary Lowry, 326 Maple Avenue, Pewee Valley, Kentucky, 40056. So in land use priorities, preserving farmland and open spaces, in the stakeholder meetings, this was 74% of all responses. Land use priorities, preserving farmland and open spaces. Focus for economic growth, again, 320 replied agriculture and agritourism. How concerned are you about environmental sustainability? 81% said very concerned. Farmland, open spaces, agriculture, and agritourism, parkland, are all part of environmental sustainability. All are critically dependent upon green space, conservation, protection of our soil, water, and air. We all benefit from our neighbors in the county that preserve farmland, waterways, open spaces, and green space. By forever protecting these land and putting it in a conservation easement, as is their right as a private landowner. Driving down 42, 1694, Coverbridge Road, looking at land on the river, it's evident what an impact, and much more, their preservation has had on our county. This is land that will look the same when my grandkids have grandkids. It will not change. It will be their legacy, their gift to future generations, landowners, and the county. As a private landowner, one also certainly has the right to sell this land to a developer and allow that developer to build and create their vision for the county. Two opposite ends of the spectrum for sure, which you are tasked with threading the needle. The community seemed clear in this process in communicating what our county's residents believe is critical to them. Be clear, we need space to live, work, and play, farm, ride horses, go to school, and recreate. We need you to be advocates for our community and our constituents and enforce and interpret the zoning regs created by the comp plan. We need infill, not sprawl. We need a healthy balance and a strong vision. As we welcome some 20,000 new residents to Oldham County in the next 10 years, we need the elements of smart growth, landscaping, green space, traffic calming, walkability, preservation of critical environmental and cultural areas, transportation options, and so on, to be critical in your decision making. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of the application? All right, seeing none, we will be moving into a 50-minute max session of those wishing to speak in opposition of this plan. We will start by, if anyone wants to speak, if you'll stand up, we'll swear everyone in. If you'll raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
And a reminder, as you come up, if you will state your name and your address for the record.
Hi, Liz Englert, Old Sligo Road, 5400. I have a couple of questions. Overall, I think a lot of time and effort has been put into this, and I think it's appreciated by the community. But the devil is in the details. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Jim, but I have some questions. One is that toward the end of what Ryan was talking about, he said that 90-something% of Oldham County land is not suitable or has challenging soils for development, and that a lot of leveling would have to be done and so on to change those 30-degree slopes. Now, currently, do we allow blasting and leveling hills in Oldham County for residential or commercial development?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, and for everyone's awareness, when blasting does occur, and it does typically occur to install storm sewer or sanitary sewers in rock, there are state guidelines that developers or contractors have to follow, and there's also a notification process within the city of LaGrange, but typically it's governed by the state.
For those subdivisions that, we have seen occasionally, there's one in LaGrange where it was all rock, it stayed all rock, and I've noticed a few pitiful trees trying to survive in there. How many inches of topsoil do they put down on top of that rock when they have a solid rock foundation?
Ma'am, I understand your question, but as a point of order, yes, ma'am, and my point is this is about the comprehensive plan. Is there a specific section of the comprehensive plan that you're addressing this concern to? Because that's what we're here about today.
I'm addressing the environmental portion where it talked about retaining contours and so on.
There's not a requirement for topsoil to be put over rock because there could be exposed bedrock in natural areas. So to go through and just cover rock isn't reasonable.
Well, in particular, there's one off of Old Sligo Road where it was hills. They flattened all of it. I mean, it wasn't blasting for sewers. They blasted the whole blasted thing. I'm assuming that if they put soil on top of that, you'd have to put a good foot of topsoil to grow trees. Now, the comprehensive plan calls for retaining the character of Oldham County, which includes a lot of trees, which actually make our county cooler and not as hot as our surrounding cities. But it does allow that to continue, and if we have challenging land, that could mean a great deal of our land is going to be treated in that manner. Is there anything that would prevent that?
Prevent what specifically?
A lot of land flattened and turned into rock quarries.
So I think we're getting really specific because the terrain is general. There's not a tree canopy regulation, but I think I'm confident in saying that from a developer standpoint, clearing trees does cost money. So we do see a lot of developments where I think they minimize the amount of trees they clear to be able to put houses or the specific development or buildings in there, and don't just go through and overly clear out.
No overall tree requirement with any development.
There's not a tree canopy requirement for within Oldham County.
Okay. One suggestion would be that there be some kind of tree canopy requirement within Oldham County. That beautiful new Commerce Parkway, a lot of people I see sweating running along there. There's not a tree anywhere along those sidewalks that would shade people to encourage walkability. I think we need to look into the details if we want to have a beautiful county with a lot of environmental factors that engage us in the county. Now, we live off near 42. There are two ways to go to town. One is the fast way, and that's to go through LaGrange, which frankly, a great deal of it is a desert eyesore with very few trees, lots of parking lots and that kind of thing. So when we talk about making Oldham County a tourist destination, that's not the kind of thing we're looking for. We need to have some kind of regulations that require people to do something to maintain the character of Oldham County. Along those lines, I'm assuming that sewers are required for any density of greater than, less than 5 acres. I don't think that's the case now, but if we want to maintain clean water, that's the kind of regulation we need to have this beautiful vision of Oldham County as set forth in the plan come true. The other thing is open burning. Open burning is legal in Oldham County. We live out in the country, so, I mean, you get a lot of trees down and that kind of thing. Oldham County has no place that sort of thing can be taken to. When old fences are taken down, which have been covered in creosote, various layers of paint, and originally treated with copper or arsenate, those are burned into the air. And we have a riding school out there, and there's a lot of kids who get very uncomfortable and have trouble concentrating when they are getting blast of air from burned materials. So I would ask that you look into these details as the zoning commission and come up with regulations that actually do protect the character of Oldham County with the sort of things that we've come to expect in Oldham County, which is a rolling countryside that is not packed with subdivision after subdivision or packed with apartment unit after apartment unit like is on Commerce Parkway. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Barry Laws. I'm the Constable of District 3.
And your address.
I'd rather not, thank you. KRS 100.197.1 says, all elements of the comprehensive plan shall be prepared with a view towards carrying out the statement of goals and objectives. I'll repeat that, carrying out the statement of goals and objectives. There's no specifics included in the 2025 Oldham County Comprehensive Plan to document if any goal or objective has been carried out. This plan does not comply with KRS 100.197. Per the KRS, did we carry out the 2019 plan? We don't know, and that's problematic. If you look at transportation, it gave a good look at future projects with timeframes and specific results. Thank you to Jim. Following is a small example of nonspecific and vapid language in the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, which is not accountable to or for anyone or anything. Should be considered. Well, how about must be implemented? Encourage the placement. How about must minimize? Should be discouraged. How about must be discouraged? Should be discouraged again. Should be observed. How about must be implemented? When development is proposed in areas that support wildlife habitats, guidelines that minimize the negative impacts should be observed. So this is kind of loose language. Language is vital in a document like this. There's no incentives to follow in this comprehensive plan. There's no specific goals, no specific objectives, no specific action items. Imagine wanting to build a nice house in a nice area with nice amenities, without any drawings, locations, timeframes, specs, etc. Would that house ever be built? Now imagine wanting an incredible Oldham County, but without specific goals, objectives, and action items. This represents the 2025 Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. If I were a developer reading this current plan, I would see no guardrails against any development and no reason to regard this document. I would skip right to zoning requirements and never give this document another look. The data center on 53 showcases this very fact, completely in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Yet planning and development in response said the comprehensive plan was just guidelines for developers and accepted the flawed application. We've all seen what happens when a developer doesn't want to follow guidelines. Our community deserves a beautiful vision with strong guardrails. Again, KRS 100.1971, all elements of the comprehensive plan shall be prepared with a view towards carrying out the statement of goals and objectives. This 2025 comprehensive plan at this juncture does not comply. Now the good news, this is an easy fix, and we can build upon the important work that Ryan's done, and it's been a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? So we have two options. We have 5 minutes, and we're going to need to take a break and then come back.
Okay.
Would you like to wait, or would you like to go ahead and proceed? Okay.
Keep you guys on your toes.
All right. All right. So we are coming up on noon. Do I have a motion to take a recess?
I'll make a motion that we recess for lunch, take a break, come back in 1 hour,
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
Oh. So we have a change of plan. Okay.
Well, never mind.
Pause.
Okay, so first, I actually hate to address this in this manner, but I really think that everyone needs to consider, and I should bring this before fiscal court as well, making us, I'm getting to that. So making us state our address is actually a privacy concern, so I don't actually oppose at all being asked to provide it even on a document to them.
Can you state your name, and are you a resident of Oldham County?
Yes, my name is Olivia Tipton, and I'm in LaGrange, Kentucky. But I do think it should be considered for all people, truthfully. And I say that, okay. So first, I am representing my own feelings in my statements today, and this is not representative of anyone else but myself. Maroon happens to be my favorite fall color and holds no other significance. My comments are not to negate the hard work of all the individuals who have been working on this draft in front of you today. Ryan is the messenger, so to speak, so any of my comments are not directed at him personally. My concerns are procedural in nature. First, I'm not sure why we did not use a consultant. This is a pretty common practice, if not standard, for the whole state. This is the first time working on a comp plan for most of the parties involved, which makes this choice even more perplexing. It was just presented as a positive that we save taxpayer money as there is a limited small budget. That was immediately followed by saying that this comp plan provides a legal framework for rezoning. It doesn't seem like a document with such significance is the place that we need to be saving money. A choice to forego a consultant should have been made by the Planning Commission or the Fiscal Court in open meetings since Chapter 100 states Chapter 100 of state statutes places all legal responsibility of the comp plan on those two bodies. Anyone who knows me knows that I am a big supporter of open government and our sunshine laws. I have some open meetings concerns with the process of this comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan in front of you references the groups such as the steering committee and all the focus groups and incorporates their work into official work completed on the plan. Their reference alone tells you that their work is official under these circumstances. The Open Meetings Act, which is KRS 61800 to 61850, establishes a right of access to public meetings. A public meeting is defined as a gathering of every kind where a quorum of members are present and public business is discussed. I've gotten some pushback from our local officials due to a misconception on whether or not these kinds of groups are in fact public agencies due to how they were created, which in most cases has been improper. I hope to help clarify that for everyone today. I don't believe this is intentional, but the outcome stands regardless of the intention. KRS 61805-2G provides that any boards, commissions, committees, subcommittees, Advisory committees or ad hoc committees, which are established, created, and or controlled by a public agency, are public agencies. While not properly created, all of these groups today I've referenced are public agencies by definition. Not only were those meetings not properly noticed, but Ryan's own statements today that he set them free, or most of these groups only held one meeting, he let them write their own sections of their plan elements. This is an explicit open meetings violation, making all of that work done in secrecy. Further, Ryan does not have the authority to create these defined public agencies, such as the ones created working on this comprehensive plan. That authority would fall on the Planning Commission or Fiscal Court. Those bodies also only hold the authority when they are in a quorum, which means that decision would be required to happen in open meeting. This makes not only the work of those committees this would not only make the work of these committees a violation, but also their creation of these committees a violation. The same improper process has taken place with the task force, which just completed the data center regulations. That is soon to come before this commission. All of their work is in violation of open meetings. In more plain language, the process used has allowed only arbitrarily selected citizens access to and participation in official business. Further, other community members who have requested the ability to participate were declined. It was further explained that there was no formal process for selection of these groups. This is precisely why the open meetings laws were written, was to prevent these exact circumstances from happening. I strongly encourage the Planning Commission to consider a formal extension to the comprehensive plan or a one-year readoption of our current plan to allow the comprehensive plan to be drafted with the aid of a consultant and in compliance with open meetings as the law dictates. A final draft presented to the Planning Commission should not be riddled with typos. Unless you guys go line by line addressing those mistakes, and approval today would be approving those typos. Those things cannot be changed prior to going to fiscal court without violating open meetings, because it would be a formal approval. I want to again reiterate that this is not directed at Ryan or anybody in the planning and zoning team. They've worked very hard on this. It is really quite unrealistic to place this significant of a task on that team because their regular jobs have not paused while they've done this work. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we are at noon, just after noon. Would you?
Ms. Tipton, are you going to come back after lunch? Because they're going to ask you questions.
Okay. As we would ask that anyone who speaks today do come back so that if we have questions as commissioners, we will be able to ask those questions at that time.
I'll make a motion that we break for lunch
until
for an hour to, I guess, 1:05.
Do I have a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?